It's time for Cofield and Company. Live at the Golden Circle Sportsbook and Bar, inside Treasure Island, it's Cofield and Company.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Friday, Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Golden Circle Sports Bar right on the Strip. Get on down here. Free parking. A tremendous bar with the $5 draft beers, select draft beers from 10 a to 6 p, 7 days a week. Willie, how are you, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm waiting for the Strip to start getting a little crazy. We'll see what's going on this weekend as we're in the midst of the dog days, right? Not for sports talk, but the dog days of summer. It's been pretty hot here the last couple of weeks. Pretty crazy. How was the rest of the week for you since I last saw you on Tuesday?
It's been interesting. Just keeping an eye on things. I was actually bouncing back and forth last night from the Hall of Fame game to the Aces game, and both of them come down to the end. So pretty exciting night. A lot of writing, a lot of content for Ball is Life as Team FB7.com is gearing up, and the betting site of Ball is Life. So taking a look at futures, offensive, defensive rookies of the year. So, and a lot of reading. This is a time of year where I'm picking out which annual I want to grab. Try to get used to who's been writing for what. You know, they usually reach out to the local beat writers to contribute to those magazines. So I did pick up an annual, so I'm doing some reading and researching on a lot of things with the NFL season coming up, and college football is right around the corner, so I'm going to have to brush up on that as well.
So coming out of the gates, we got big news in the world of baseball. I don't know where the A's are going to turn to next. I don't know if they'll stay in-house, but David Forst had done a good job on one front, but other areas, the A's have looked very weak this year, and the GM of the club just announced about 2 hours ago, A's announced that GM David Forst has mutually agreed in the club to part ways. So assistant GM Dan Feinstein is going to be the interim GM for the rest of the season. And then it says here they'll begin a comprehensive search for the next GM. They do have to be better as an organization in terms of developing not just hitters, because, I mean, they can draft hitters, but they've got to find a way to develop and also get pitchers from outside the organization, because what's happened this year, and especially in June, July, and early August, has just been horrendous with the pitching, Willie.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I was surprised when the announcement came down. I got the press release. Obviously, they're starting to get an idea of how they want to make changes. We know what they need to do on the field. It's a matter of decisions that are being made behind the scenes. So I guess this is the start of it. And I think they have a good idea of what they want to look like before they get to Las Vegas, and that's coming up in a couple of years. So, like I said, I can't say I'm surprised. It's a matter of which direction they want to go and how they want to attack this, and how they decide to strengthen the pitching staff and build up the youth with their hitting, and what they're going to do with the foundation that's being laid in Las Vegas. So, I guess they're going to ride this one out. They're going to ride this season out. Go from there, because I think this season obviously is lost. They're not going to climb themselves out of the hole that they've fallen into.
Leslie up on the live stream, because we are rolling live video right now. If you want to watch, up on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, Leslie said, "Doesn't matter who the A's are going to hire at GM as long as John Fisher is the owner." What's your take on that?
I think we have to wait to see, because I believe that we've already seen. I can understand the comment and the sentiment, but I have to believe that his desire to change his own ways as this team comes to Las Vegas has to come forward. The investment, the money toward the payroll. What he plans on doing. So I don't necessarily buy into that just yet. I understand the philosophy. I understand the thought process behind disgruntled fans, but I think that he is seeing the light in how much he has to invest and sort of change his way of thinking in order to make this team successful. And that is, we've talked about this at the deadline in terms of the Dodgers spending money, teams being able to spend money and investing in players and in the team itself. That's what this team has to do. That's what Fisher's going to have to do. So I think we have to wait and see because Oakland has become conditioned to what he's done to that organization. Is he going to change his ways? Is he going to start looking toward the future, toward Las Vegas, and investing as a whole?
Well, I think he already has. I mean, one, this move signals that this ain't good enough.
Right.
There's no excuses that can make up for what's happened the last 9 weeks now, and frankly, the pitching is a problem, and they just haven't developed enough pitchers in their system. They were not aggressive enough in the offseason to go get more pitchers. I mean, they tried a couple of years ago with Luis Severino, but he went down and may not be back until early September, and it seems like most of the arms they brought up, aside from Gage Jump, have just struggled, just inconsistency. So if the pitching's not up to snuff, someone's head has to roll. I mean, I think they're hitting that they're getting in the draft has been unbelievable. The building blocks they have are sick. Now, they've caught a bunch of bad breaks. And here's the other thing, in terms of a fresh look at what John Fisher's doing, one, he is the one who somehow got the state of Nevada and Clark County and Vegas to step up and give him $380 million, so that's an accomplishment. He apparently has enough money to build the rest of the stadium. The stadium looks like it's on the mark and on schedule. He's also sold off over 10% of the club, and he's gotten some good investors in there. I love the fact that Mark Cuban is part of the group, so I'm going to be cautious in getting too excited about the A's and the way they're going to do business. They gave us some good signs. They signed some long-term extensions for their younger guys. Maybe in the future they're not going to have to trade off guys every time they get to the end of the contract. And the good thing is they're signing guys when they're very young to 5 and 6 and 7-year deals. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to be cautious, but I'm going to judge him on what he's done since this whole process began with the move to Vegas. All right, other news out there, Bryson Stott. I know you wanted to talk about Bryson, who obviously has become a guy who's had to be jack of all trades because of the Phillies' need for flexibility because of some of the trades they made. And I know you wanted to point out that Stott, after a very slow start, has actually played pretty well in terms of his hitting, and on the field he's been dynamic and outstanding again. Yeah,
he's been one of the Phillies' best hitters, and I think it's not. I don't think it's negligence on the PR team's fault or the Phillies or anything. I mean, when you have guys like Bryce Harper, you have the hitters that you have, he's going to kind of get buried back there, but he has been tearing it up. 311, 395, 485, 32 hits. Batting .311 over the last month, 15 walks in his last 30 games. His production's been huge. The Phillies, during that run where they closed the gap to 4 or 5 games behind the Atlanta Braves, I mean, he was a part of that. It's just that we saw those big hitting numbers from Harper and Schwarber. So with Stott sort of pacing things behind the scenes, if you will, he's been an integral part. The bigger thing is he's long overdue for a Gold Glove. This is a kid who you realize playing at second base right now. I'm looking it up here. He has 1 error this season at second base. 107 games. He's started 101. He's got 1 error this year. Last year, 1 error. Now, 3 errors at second, 1 error at shortstop. He's played 3 games at third base this season. This is a kid who's constantly been overlooked for a Gold Glove. And I think it's time that he gets his just due. He's had a couple of highlight plays recently, and that just to sort of go along with his offensive prowess that we've seen to help the Phillies out. So I'm always going to pump up the locals, but Bryson Stott is somebody who deserves it, not just because he's from Las Vegas.
Heads up, we still got our Lotus Summer Fun going down, 8 trips in 8 weeks for America 250. We're giving away a bunch of cool domestic trips, and this week's trip is to Yellowstone or Grand Canyon. 364-1100, 702-364-1100 is the way you get in. You can qualify by simply sending in a keyword of the day. Today's keyword is hiking. Hiking is the keyword of the day for the Lotus Summer Fun. It's brought to you by our friends at Bay Law Injury Attorneys, Terribles, and, of course, ESPN Las Vegas. Keyword of the day, 702-364-1100, is hiking to get in on the Lotus Summer Fun trip this week.
It's Cofield and Company. on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, let's bring in Adam Hill as we get our Raiders report on a Friday. We go behind the patch. Adam, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Good times. It was actually not the most oppressively hot day today, so that was nice.
It was actually a little bit nicer. There were some clouds for a little bit, humid. But for some reason, Kirk Cousins and Max Crosby got hot under the collar. What happened with Kirk and Max? When did it happen?
Look, there's good and bad to how Max Crosby practices, right? And everybody knows the reputation for Max, 1,000 miles an hour every single play. Gets, flirts with the line a little bit in terms of what's acceptable in practice and what's not. And he actually kind of even joked earlier in camp about, how the first day of training camp practice, he already was kind of pushing the limits a little bit. It'd been a full year since he'd really been able to practice full speed, and he was excited to get back there, and he was probably getting too close to the quarterbacks. And this even goes back to John Gruden when Max Crosby was a rookie. There's kind of a famous story that Crosby was getting too close to the quarterbacks on an everyday basis, and Gruden finally yelled, "I'm going to cut you." They both agree that happened. Max said he was threatening to release him. Gruden now says he was going to cut block him. He was going to send a lineman to hit him in the knees. But either way, this has been going on for years, and Kirk Cousins finally had enough. I think it's kind of far away. You can't really exactly see, but from my eyes, it looked like the second time that Crosby had kind of hit Cousins' arm while he was throwing, and Cousins just snapped, and he went and tracked him down and grabbed him. And I know some people said there was punches thrown. I don't know if that was the case. He definitely looked like he was trying to grab him and control him and throw him, and obviously Crosby's not going to back down from it. So it was very intense. It was a scuffle for sure, no question about it. A lot of guys rushed over, and it got settled down fairly quickly. But there's no question Kirk Cousins is sending a message like, "Stop getting so close to me, bro. You're not supposed to be here. I'm in a red jersey. You know better than this." And finally he's not. I'm surprised it wasn't somebody else that came and stopped it. But we've kind of been joking on the sideline, who's finally going to snap on Max and try to make this stop? And the answer was Kirk Cousins. And by the way, this was only about 10 minutes after Jonah Laulu threw a real nasty right hook at Caleb Rogers. So there was some tension down the field today, no question.
Yeah. So I had read one story where it just said that he got mad because he batted the ball, and I was like, this just doesn't even sound right. Because he got mad because of a deflected pass. But then when I texted one of our colleagues that was out there, and he just said he definitely got in Max's face and was fed up. Then everyone else ran over. Both times it was because he seemed to hit his arm. Kirk was pointing to his arm both times. So after the first time, did you notice the first time? Did he point at his arm and say, "Hey, you hit my arm"?
Yeah, and it's in retrospect too, right? Like kind of you think about it and figure it out. The first time, the ball floated up in the air and it was intercepted, and Kirk had snapped on that play, and everybody was kind of like, "Who is he mad at? Was the wrong route get run, or was it a lineman, or was he upset with the coaches? Like, what is going on?" And then when later in practice, what happened went down, we kind of thought back and said, "Oh, that's why he was mad the first time." It's the same thing, because he was then once again pointing at his arm and screaming, and that's when he went after Max. So, I can't say definitively that that's what happened, but that's my interpretation of being on the sideline and watching it, exactly what it looked like. But like I said, I thought at some point somebody was going to snap and go after Max. It just happened to be Kirk Cousins, which is kind of surprising with Kirk's demeanor, but he's a competitor. There's no question about that. And he's also a veteran that knows how you're supposed to practice, and he just didn't like it.
So when Kubiak spoke, what was his reaction in terms of, hey, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of fire out there? Obviously, Kirk Cousins is right, but there's a way that a guy like Max Crosby is going to practice. I mean, what did Kubiak have to say?
His take was basically, you can't do things that are going to get penalized in a game. That was one thing, and I think that was also directed at Jonah, something like that. You can't be out there throwing punches. So I think that was kind of his more of his messaging of, hey, you practice how you're going to play, and in a game you can't cost your team 15 yards, you can't get ejected, you can't do that kind of thing. So you gotta make sure that doesn't happen on the practice field as well.
Did Kubiak change his mind and call anyone a turd today?
No turd. Well, he didn't say there was no turds, but he didn't. He also didn't say there were turds. So I guess he hasn't really changed his mind on that.
His comment about the turd the other day, is that basically just kind of what Gruden used to call the energy vampire? Is that his description? Did anyone try to deep dive on that?
No, there's not really much of deep diving after when Kubiak talks. He's pretty much straightforward and then moves on. But I think that was essentially his message, that they have tried in every single way to eliminate I from the vocabulary of the team. I know it's a very cliche thing, without question, but they don't want anybody talking I or me. It's all we and us. And he said they've done that they feel like they have been able to do that, and they don't have anybody holding them back from that, anybody that's going to get in the way of that attitude. I would argue maybe there are, potentially, but they've done a really good job, I will say, in the last 2 years since John Spytek took over. It's been something I've been kind of obsessed with, and funny enough, I think I've asked Spytek the question like 6 times, and the last 3 or 4 times he's been like, "Bro, you keep asking it. Like, stop asking me this question." And then last time I asked him, he goes, "Okay, yes, for sure." But there's zero question that character has been very, very high up on their priorities when it comes to both free agent signings and drafting. If you look at the people that they've taken, and just look at their draft picks and look who they signed, and look at the character of those guys and the intelligence level and all of those things. And they're absolutely trying to set the tone in that way. Now, obviously, they're not just take guys that are good dudes and can't play, but there's no doubt that the tiebreaker and one of the most important things that they look at is character. And that's what they're trying to build here. There's zero question about that.
Adam Hills on Cofield and Company as we go behind the patch, find out what happened this week, today with the Raiders. Saw the Cousins did get picked a couple times. I've been waiting for you to come on and ask you all week long about Hezekiah Masses. Who is this?
Rookie out of Cal, just playing really, really solid. And one of the things that was talked about in OTAs was, hey, this guy's playing really well. He's getting a lot of big reps. What do you see for him? And Kubiak said, I really want to see when the pads come on. We can actually get to training camp, put the pads on. What can he bring? And he's answered every question. I think he's been very, very solid. I don't know that he has, absolute game-changing talent at the high end, but he's a very solid player. I'd be shocked if he didn't have a very prominent role come week 1 when the season starts, and he could even be starting. He's getting plenty of first-team reps at corner.
What's the latest with Jermod McCoy, who obviously is the most highly touted guy in terms of his rep, from a couple of years ago? I know he had a rest day this week. What was today?
Yeah, he was back on the field. Jermod McCoy, nobody has sung the praises of his talent louder than I from day one. I thought he was one of the top 3 most talented players in the draft, and it was a steal for the Raiders to get him. But, it's very clear that he's a guy that has been away for more than a year. He's a guy that's coming back from injury. You see flashes in his play, but you just don't see the consistency yet. I think he's going to be a guy who, as the season wears on, he's going to get more and more playing time. He's going to get more reps, and he's going to see the field a little bit more. But I think, as of right now, he's certainly behind a guy like Masses, who is challenging for a starting spot. He'll be challenging for those second-team reps, I think, for now. And then as he gets healthier and can work his way back up, he's, obviously, if he gets back to what he was in 2024 at Tennessee, he is a game-changing talent, but he's going to have to get back to that level. And one of the things for sure, if there was a knock on him, it was maybe over physicality and at times getting flagged a little bit too much. And we've definitely seen that. I think 4 or 5 straight days of practice he drew a pass interference flag. So I think as he works his way back up, some of that will go away. But it's certainly something for him to still work on.
Sticking with the defense, I want you to talk about Quay Walker and, just reading a lot of what's been going on at camp about him being at different positions seemingly throughout practices. What is he going to play? What sort of flexibility does he bring?
All kinds of flexibility. And he's a guy who's been the green dot his entire career at Green Bay, which means, playing in the middle, relaying the signals, getting the calls from the sideline, and having all those responsibilities in terms of communication and everything else. And he's not going to be now because Nakobe Dean is going to have that role. So that it just frees up in so many different ways Quay Walker to really get out and just do whatever they need him to do. And that's a a big part of this Rob Leonard defense. First time as a defensive coordinator, he wants to be a guy that can be multiple. He wants to have different looks. He wants to have guys that are chess pieces that can move all over the field. We see that in some of the defensive backs they drafted who can just play anywhere. But that's also the case with a guy like Quay Walker, who is huge, has a ton of athleticism, and now that he's kind of freed from that responsibility of play calling, can move all over the place and can be effective from on different levels and coming from different areas. And I know one of the things the defensive coaches were saying is don't take that as he's not capable of it, because he is a highly intelligent player, great communicator, everything else. Just so happens he has another one of those on his team in Kobe Dean, so he's capable of doing that still. And Quay said the other day, I'm still on every play, I'm still looking over, thinking of down and distance, and hearing the call and kind of thinking about the call, and I'm still in my mind have those middle linebacker responsibilities, but he just doesn't have to be the one on the field that does that. So it does free him up to do quite a bit.
What's the latest in the battle at the guard positions, and who is Burford?
Yeah, Spencer Burford, a guy who started a lot of games with San Francisco, certainly not coming off his best season last year, but he comes over at free agency. I think the scheme fits him fairly well. He's a guy that was around in San Francisco when Kubiak was there, and he's worked his way into being a legitimate starting player in the NFL. I thought he was going to be more in a battle, but it seems like from the start of training camp, he's been locked in at one of the starting guard spots. And, maybe the other side is up for grabs with JPJ, who's mostly been playing one, and then Caleb Rogers, who's been rotating in with the ones the last 2 days. That seems to be more of a battle, but Spencer Burford seems to have one of those spots locked up as in his first year coming over as a free agent from San Francisco. Kind of a quiet signing, but one that if he can get back to his form a couple of years ago, playing right alongside Tyler Linderbaum and over there with Colton Miller, like he could really help out and improve this offensive line.
2 questions, 2 minutes. These are questions we'll be addressing throughout the show. Adam Hill is with us, of course, covers the Raiders for the RJ and has covered the NFL for a long time. He's a highfalutin guy. One, when does Aaron Donald announce that he's coming back, and then how soon does he actually play?
It's a great question. I guess it just depends on what practice he needs. We saw that they had to announce as a technicality, essentially, that he had a tryout the other day because he wanted to work out with a helmet. So he needed to borrow a helmet from the Rams. And if you use equipment at the facility during training camp, it's technically a tryout. So, procedurally, they had to mark him down as a tryout player. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when he wants to get out there, how many practices does he feel he needs. I doubt he'd want to play in a preseason game, but maybe. I think it's just a matter of time and a matter of, his preference on how many practices he needs.
Okay, another hot topic today. I saw the Hall of Fame is talking about making some changes to the voting process, and a lot of it's because of what happened with Bill Belichick last year. I'm not really sure why they have to make changes. For me, Belichick is not a Hall of Famer. I do take into account morals and behavior, and frankly, the North Carolina stuff right now I think is part of his story. I know it's Pro Football Hall of Fame, but is Bill Belichick a Hall of Famer for you?
Yeah, yes. Just a ton of, yes, he's won a ton of Super Bowls and considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. I don't know if he is, but yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
Why can't he wait longer?
But he can. I think it's crazy when you change because of one person. We changed the standards or the voting process, but I think if you're going to have a Hall of Fame and you're going to have coaches in the Hall of Fame, you should probably be in.
Okay. But to your point, we're going to do this every time, so like something happens and people are outraged?
Yeah, there's one guy that you think should have been in and doesn't get in, and you're going to change the rules. Like, that's silly.
And you know what I do? I'll give this to people. I admire their objectivity, and now I think others are not objective. They're on his side, but I admire the objectivity of others because, as we know, in most cases, a lot of these voters, if you were on fire, Bill Belichick would not take a leak on you to put out the fire. So, so good for you that you love him that much, but he can stay out for a few more years for me, but we'll ask everyone on the show, and I'm sure most of them are going to be with you. All right, Adam, I appreciate the time. Feel better. We'll talk to you, buddy.
Sounds good. Talk to you.
There he is, Adam Hill. Up next, the UNLV camp report as we got a chance to talk to the running backs coach and one of the star running backs of the Rebels.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Day 9 of UNLV football practice in the books. They're off tomorrow. They go to Raiders headquarters on Sunday. So interesting times for the Rebels as they are now 22 days away from the opener here in town against Memphis. Today was running backs day. I'll give you an update in the 5 o'clock hour about the roster because there's been some roster updates. But running back room is pretty loaded. Jet Thomas comes back as an All-Mountain West Conference selection. He's a highly decorated guy. Jalen Glover, I think, is going to have a monster year. And Dan Mullen, I know, with Phil Steele, I think recommended Glover be third-team All-Mountain West in the preseason. So there are some places that have both of the running backs getting All-Mountain West Conference honors. Now, Ganther, of course, played in the NFL, and that's important to remember when you hear one of the questions in here. But in this portion of the presser scrum, I just mentioned Thomas and Glover, and someone was asking about, hey, what's the race for the number 3 running back?
There's a battle going on for the first and second back. I know about Jet too, and I know about Glover, but it's a healthy competition within the room. We don't sit back and say, okay, well, you don't have to work today because it's your spot. You're returning, first team all league guy. Because then when that happens, then that falls on me as a coach because I'm not pushing him to get, take him to the next level and get more out of him.
They really are pushing each other then.
Oh, they are. They are. These guys are coming out there competing on a daily basis. All of them. We got a couple of young guys. It's good to get DJ back into the fold. He had a shoulder surgery last year, but now he's back. It's good to see him, and it's good to see everybody lifting each other up and really pushing each other.
How do they kind of complement each other?
Oh, all of them. Jet is who Jet is. He's a slasher. He's, kind of do it all. DJ is a bigger guy. He's the biggest back in the room. Brings something different to that aspect of it. Then you go Glover. Glover, he's played a lot of football. He's played a lot of football, at different levels. He understands it. So they're all complementing each other well, and all bring something different to the table. And I'm looking forward to allowing them each to open up their abilities and help us win football games.
Who's most similar to you? You're a great running back, so which running back is closest to you?
None of them. I tell them all the time, I used to get paid for what I do. Now y'all getting paid too. but I want them to still get paid when they're 42 years old like me. Then we can talk.
So how does Jet get to the level where it's next level pay? How does he make the NFL?
Well, the thing about Jet is he can be so versatile. He can catch the ball out the backfield. And his thing to play at the next level, he's going to have to be able to return kicks to find a special teams value. And that's exactly what I had to do. I had to find a special teams value. And the thing is, he's willing. With special teams, when you make a special team, when you make a roster based on special teams, it's all about attitude and want to. You have to want to do it. You have to dominate your one-on-one battles, and I think he'll be able to do that.
Such a cool story, Willie, that, it hits you. Hey, Jet Thomas at UNLV, this is the kind of guy who absolutely would go in the transfer portal from Group of 6 and get the hell out of here. There's so much money out there, and the fact that he's sticking it out with UNLV through 2 different coaching staffs is pretty special, and he's lined up to have a monster year, and if he does, they can have a magical season.
Yeah, and it's good that, he knows where the focus is, too. This is a team that ranked 23rd in the nation last year with 195.5 yards rushing per game, 33 rushing touchdowns. So it's not as if it's an accompaniment to the offense. It's a major part of it, and him being the focal point of the rushing game, it allows him to, it's going to allow him to shine in the spotlight. Whereas if he were to transfer to go after NIL dollars, he may fall in the second or third spot. Whereas here, he can be a star, possibly get Offensive Player of the Year in the Mountain West, and raise his stock for the NFL draft.
Let's give away some baseball tickets here on a Friday. 364-1100, caller 7, Aviators and Rivercats. 4-pack. That game is on the 13th at LV Ballpark. Rivercats in town to take on the Aviators. 364-1100, 364-1100, caller number 7. We'll get a review of the big event over at Circa. All these gamblers and touts and experts in town. Quite the mix for Bet Bash. So Sammy P's on the way.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, let's head to Parts Unknown with Sam Panayotovich, who's been in Vegas, was part of Bet Bash. Sammy, what's going on, buddy?
I just jumped out of the pool at the Cosmo, Steve. I must love you.
All right, what are you doing? How you dealing with the weather, man? A little humid? Still pretty hot? You love it?
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. I've lathered up like 3 times now, but it's good. And then I'm actually doing okay. I gotta get back and shower. We got to go to the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame dinner tonight over at Circa. Derek's throwing a big party. Bet Bash is this week, and every Friday night they do that Hall of Fame dinner. Our buddy Vinny Maiulo's going in tonight amongst a bunch of others. So it'll be a nice exclamation point on a very, very fun weekend.
Sammy P is with us as Bet Bash is going down in town. Talk about the panel, not to offend anyone, but that you've been part of, you've watched, that has been most enjoyable, and maybe from the information standpoint first.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Which panel that you were part of had the best information?
Oh, the college football one, no doubt, with Tim Murray and Brett McMurphy. You know, McMurphy's a stud, and Timmy's a dear friend of mine that works at Visa, and he just gave Brett, softballs down the middle, and Brett was nailing them. There's a stat, too, if you go to my Twitter at SP Shoot, there's only 12 teams in the country that bring back their starting quarterback along with the head coach, OC, and DC. And one of those teams I really like, I don't know if we've talked about Minnesota yet. I love their win total this year in college football. It's 6.5 over plus 130. You really look for things like that coming into a season. You want consistency and stability. And, Notre Dame's another one of those teams. Houston's one of those teams. I don't have the whole list in front of me. But that's a team in Minnesota that feels very good about what they are and what they're going to do. And I was at Big Ten Media Day in Chicago like a week or two ago and talked to PJ Fleck. And he said, we feel really good about our situation. And we think that, we have one of the most underrated teams in the country. So when you're looking to bet early college football or maybe like long-term college football, you want teams that bring a ton back. And there's only 12 in the country that bring back the coach, the coordinators, and the starting quarterback.
Was there another win total, either as part of the Bear Bets podcast or just a team that was getting a bunch of run amongst the experts around Bet Bash? Who's a hot ticket right now? Either it could be under, too.
Well, the most popular one that we've talked about on the show for the last couple of weeks is the Florida under. Now, understand, we talked about it on Bear Bets 2 weeks ago maybe. It was under 7.5 minus 140. If you thought that was expensive, now it's about minus 190 or minus 200. It's been dead. It's a big move. And, some people don't want to lay 190. I understand it, especially when you could have laid 140. But that's a very, very weird situation in Gainesville where John Sumrall has to come over and basically rebuild Florida. Sumrall's a really good coach, but his last two jobs, he took over cupcakes. Like they were teams that were like already built and ready to go. Now he's got to rebuild in the SEC, and it's not going to be easy. I would buy Florida stock long term, next 3 to 4 to 5 years, but not this year. So under 7.5 is a huge position under on Florida. And then they also came into DraftKings and they bet the under on the regular season wins in the SEC. So this is conference wins only. They bet under 4.5 at minus 110. So there's a lot of shorting of the Florida Gators this season.
What's the Heisman market look like, and is there value betting the favorites?
Usually I would say no. The last Heisman favorite to win the award is Marcus Mariota. You got to go back more than 10 years ago for the last favorite that actually won it from the preseason. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to make a bet. I'm leaving tomorrow night. I'm going to find the best number in town and get a paper ticket on Arch Manning. Here's why. Last year, the hype train was so much. He was like 6-1, Steve, and he'd never taken a snap for the most part, right? Like, at least not as a starter, because he backed up Quinn Ewers, of course, at Texas. And last year against Ohio State, he wasn't great week one. He wasn't really great for the first half of the season, but he came on at the end of that season. And I told you the price coming into last season was 6-1. After he ripped off all those games at the end of the season, go back and look at Arch's last 4 or 5 games. He was incredible. The number going into this season is 8-1. So I get a better number on a better player who has spent all offseason in the film room, in the weight room, making sure his P's and Q's are in order. I don't really ever bet the favorite or a guy at least near the top, because C.J. Carr and Arch are basically co-favorites now. I think Arch Manning is a great bet, and I think he's going to win the Heisman this year.
Sammy P is up with us here on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. He's a sports reporter for Fox 32. He's a gambling expert for FoxSports.com. He's been on the show for years, so he gets down with the best out there. Did you guys actually do a live Bear Bets? Did you do a Bears Bets in town? What did you do with the podcast this week?
It was funny because we set up a podcast at Bet Bash. We were one of the first podcasts to go up. We went on Wednesday afternoon, and a little behind the curtain peek here. It was supposed to be audio only, and then in the morning our producers were like, oh, no, we need video. And there was no video. So we had to we had to all open up our laptops and tablets and go on Zoom. So we did the audio show that they had provided for us. They had a really nice 4 mic setup at Circa, but we didn't have the video component. So we made it work. We did an hour-long episode with a Q&A at the end. The audience was interactive. We had Chris Andrews, Vinny Maiulo, Chad Millman, Brett McMurphy. They were all in the panel, and we were kind of volleying stuff off of them. It was very, very fun. And that episode, if you just go to Apple or Spotify or wherever and search for Bear Bets, you can get the episode. We actually put it up on Fox, but it's always fun to get with the people. And I'll tell you what, Bear is in Connecticut, Jeff is in Charlotte, Will is in Connecticut as well. I'm in Chicago now. That was the first time the 4 of us ever all met together. So to get together for the first time and to do a show in front of an audience and have the Q&A and all that, it was really, really cool.
Sammy P, I've written a couple of pieces for one of my media vendors on NFL futures as far as the awards are concerned. Have you done anything or looked at offensive and or defensive rookie of the year?
I haven't done rookies yet. I'm a little behind there, Willie. I've been full throttle Chicago, given the recent move. But I'll tell you what I did bet a couple days ago here in town. I found a 20-1 on Justin Jefferson to win the offensive player of the year.
Okay.
This is a guy that should thrive with a better quarterback and a better offensive line. Look, the line last year in Minnesota was a little banged up, and as we all know, J.J. McCarthy was a 0 at quarterback. I mean, I don't know what that experiment was, and it sounds like it's basically over. They bring in one of the veteran guys now in this league, in Kyler Murray, and he might not be the most demonstrative guy in the league, and he's certainly not one of the biggest, but if they can get anything out of that quarterback room, Justin Jefferson is elite at wide receiver. And you go into last season, his number was 10-1, 12-1. His price has doubled. There's 18 and 20-1s in the market. And that was a bet that I certainly made a couple of days ago in Vegas. Justin Jefferson for the offensive player of the year. That's one of my favorite looks coming into the season.
Sammy P is up on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas, as we're live here at Treasure Island at the Golden Circle Sports Bar, and down the way, well, he's been hanging out at Circa, but today he's over at the Cosmopolitan. Sammy is here with us. I want to get to a couple Chicago topics in a few minutes, but we kind of glossed over the whole Hall of Fame thing. Can you, for people who don't know Vegas, don't really know the sports betting community or just haven't been around that long, can you tell people about Vinny and why he's going into the Hall?
Oh, Vinny's a legend. Vinny came to Vegas for the first time when he was 13 or 14 years old, and he told the story. I did the fireside chat with him on the Hall of Fame panel yesterday. I hosted it, and he was awesome. He told the story that when he got to town for the first time, as a young kid, as a teenager, he said, "I'm going to work there one day," and he pointed to Caesar's Palace, and everybody in the car was kind of laughing at him, and then he eventually worked at the Caesars. He was a heavy hitter behind the counter at the Caesars, also at the Wynn, also at the South Point for Gone Gaming. He's just a lifer. He's been in Vegas for almost 50 years. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and he's fair. I think he always respected the relationship between the bookmaker and the bettor. I think that's sort of a dying art these days, Steve, with all the mobile apps and all the, hey, bet this same game parlay 8 legs. Vinny was all about the face-to-face and the mouth-to-mouth, and he's very good at working with people. And, he worked under Michael and Jackie Gahn, 2 Vegas legends. So I was happy to see Vinny get his flowers, and Vinny gets inducted tomorrow. For those that don't know, the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame is actually in the book physically at Circa. And Derek and Mike Palm over there have been very, very great with Spanky, who, of course, created it. It's a really, really fun event, and I think they have 25 or 30 members now, and I enjoy every year. The last 3 years now I've done the Hall of Fame panel. I've moderated it. I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm honored to be able to talk to a guy like Vinny. We also, at the end of the panel, I don't know if you saw the video, we brought a birthday cake out because it was Vinny's birthday. So at the very end of the panel, we open up the doors, we butterfly the doors, and bring out a birthday cake for Vinny. And Billy Walters is in the room, and guys like that. Just a bunch of heavy. Yeah, Billy walked into the panel 10 minutes late, and I'm like, pinch me, right? Billy Walters just walked into my panel. So it was very, very fun, and that all wraps up, like I said, tonight with the official Hall of Fame dinner.
Going back to, we mentioned Bear Bets and some of the cast members, obviously Bear, and then Jeff Schwartz. Do we have a total wing count eaten for the Naked City meetup the other night, and do we have a head-to-head between Jeff Schwartz, by the way, like when you're around NFL players, you know they're NFL players. He appears to be 6'11" and 375 pounds. He is a monster, but Bear was fired up, man. He was going at it with the wings.
Oh, we were crushing the wings, and let's not lie here, Steve. You were there. You were hanging out. You were eating wings, and when Jeff left, you went, oh my God, because Jeff is 6'7", 350 pounds, every piece of it. I did text with Chris, dear friend of mine who owns Naked City on Paradise there, and he said throughout the night we ate about 400 chicken wings. And I said, I think that number is a little bit light, honestly. The problem is we coincidentally went on wing night when they were 75 cents, so I think we took him rather than him taking us.
Let's close on this one. You've been doing a ton of content now with Fox 32, and I saw the video. How did it go, and what kind of show did you have Brian Urlacher on? Because we want people who are in Vegas to become more familiar with the work you're doing outside of gambling.
Oh, he was outstanding. He's a friend of a friend. I've known Brian for about 20 years, but not well. And I launched a series on Fox called Inside the 312. That's, of course, the area code in downtown Chicago. And I said, well, who better? We're the home of the Bears, and you want to have a really big name. I shot a phone call to Brian, and he said, whatever you need. So we went to a golf course, me, Kathy Carlson, and Brian Urlacher, and he sat down for almost 40 minutes, and we did an exclusive with him about everything. All those early 2000s Bears teams, Lovie Smith, playing against Aaron Rodgers, losing in the Super Bowl, being a Hall of Fame player. The Bears are obviously going to maybe move out of Soldier Field, and he's not happy about that. It's really, really good stuff. We put it up on TV and put it up on YouTube. If you go to our Fox Chicago YouTube channel, really, really good stuff with Brian. You just tee that guy up and he goes. So I appreciate you for asking and for giving me this opportunity to plug it. But, yeah, that was our first interview, one-on-one or two-on-one, I guess, with Cassie and me. Not many people sit down with Brian Urlacher for 40 minutes, Steve. You know that.
Yep. 30 seconds left, and then go back in the pool, buddy. Is there enough excitement around the White Sox to actually create demand to the point where people were kind of angry about sort of a passive trade deadline?
Yeah, well, they were supposed to win 66.5 games, right? That was the win total, and now they're going to win about 85 or so. And yeah, people are upset that they didn't ball up at the deadline. But look, they have one of the best farm systems in baseball, and they believe in the future. They're very conservative. But I'll tell you what, you watch the last couple of weeks, they could have used it in their arms, Steve, no doubt.
Yeah. All right, Sam, enjoy the rest of the day, and keep it under wraps tonight, man. It's Vegas. Don't get too crazy.
I'm off the hook. See you, man.
There you go. There he is. Sam Panayotovich. He's been here all week. Bet Bash. I think it's the longest time he's been here for a Bet Bash, and that's a cool event. It's building every year down at Circa. And then the other night, a really cool event at Naked City Office Bar as they gave out one of the free college football contest entries courtesy of Westgate and John Murray, and people went crazy on the wings. Coming up, we're going to check in with a little more UNLV football as we have that coming after 4 o'clock and also 5:30 as Mark McMillian's on the way.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, here we go. 4 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Battleborn Injury Lawyers. 766-1400 is the number to call Matt Hoffman or Justin Watkins, the fine team at Battleborn Injury Lawyers in the North. Got to dial 775-766-1400. We're on ESPN Reno and ESPN Las Vegas. Willie is here with us as James is steering the ship, and we check in with our former NFL playing friend and now a chef. Chef Mark McMillian is up with Cofield and Company. What's going on, Mark?
What's going on, Steve Cofield? Man, it's a good day. It was a little humid outside. I'm going to throw it out there early. I got my Korean short ribs marinating right now, and a little garlic, orange juice, and a little teriyaki glaze. I know it's after this. I know it's before time coming up talking about food, but I'm trying to throw that out there right now.
Be careful. Be careful. America's PD might get mad at us for talking food. I want to build on that, though, because I was hanging out with a friend in Denver last week, and he had one of those Traeger grills, and I was watching him make it, and really there's not much to watch because the thing freaking does it itself. He was showing me as he set it up. He's like, on the phone I can monitor the temperature and all that. Then we have to go take a ride somewhere because he's going to cook them for like 7 hours. We get in his truck, and I'm like, wait, is that the temperature gauge for the ribs in the truck? The technology now with these grills and smokers is out of control.
It is. I've used it one time just to see how good it worked, and went out for like 2 or 3 hours, and you can still adjust the temperature and even feed your auger more pellets from your phone. So, man, the days of sitting by your barbecue grill and heat and smoke for hours are pretty much dead. I know a lot of people don't like the Traegers and Gorilla Grills. I gotta give them a shout out, but hey, man, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay, I will say, and I know a lot of folks like yourself and other pit masters. I will say, and I didn't say this to my friend at the time, he got some chicken, and he also smoked the chicken, but that's pretty much how he cooked the chicken, and it didn't turn out great. It got a little dried out, and one of my other pitmaster friends said, well, one of the issues is the cut of meat was a problem in the first place. You probably shouldn't have done chicken breast.
Oh, yeah, that's dry. You got to get the thighs. Come on, man. As guys, we already know, man, what's best on the chicken. The thighs and the breast, baby. You got to get the thighs and the breast.
There you go.
You need that thigh because it carries more fat. And so if you're grilling that, some of that's going to burn off, but it stays juicy. It stays juicier. The breast. And the other thing, if you get those fat breasts,
you got to slice them in half.
You got to slice them in half or pound them out because if you cook them too long to get the temperature all the way through, then you end up overcooking them. So it's
So fellas, if you're out there getting a big breast, you got to beat your meat.
Steve, do you have an issue over there? What's your problem?
No, I was blown away by the fact that you said fat breast, and then you paused, and then you said something, and Mark knew exactly where you were going. He's like, hey, you got to cut it in half. I'm like, these guys are reading each other's minds.
That's because we were actually thinking of chicken breast, and maybe everybody else was taking it a different way.
I just love that he knew exactly where you were going with cutting the chicken in half. Mark, what were you also making? Chef Mark is with us. Before we get to all the football, what were you making this week or today? A spinach stuffed salmon salad?
Yeah, I made a pinwheel spinach stuffed salmon salad today, and I just put it on the grill for probably like 7 to 8 minutes. Got a nice little char on the little pinwheel. So all you do is just get some salmon. Whatever vegetables, you can put anything in it. You can put rice, you can put carrots, you can put spinach in it, you can put lettuce, whatever you want to put in it, and just make sure you season it well. So, man, just like 10 to 11 minutes, put that baby on the grill, just get a nice little char on it. And I'm trying to eat healthy a little bit, Steve. I'm trying to lose some weight before the season starts, so I won't look like Chubba McFlurry on TV.
Newsflash: the season starts in 2 weeks, bro.
Hey, I've been working out for like a month and a half, man, every morning.
Okay. All right.
How about that? All right.
Yeah.
Came right back at you.
That's as he's supposed to.
Yeah. You looked spry walking around the Fertitta football complex the other day. I know you were out for practice. You've been out a couple of times. Give me some general thoughts. I know one of the things you pointed out was year by year, this offensive line group just looks different.
Yeah, and much bigger, more physical, more of a unit. You see these guys, you did a couple of interviews, and the guys talk about how they go out together. Even hearing some of the stories, now these guys are getting cash. They're going out to steakhouses now and enjoying the camaraderie as a team. So I think that's really good that you can get offensive linemen on the same page. They got some nasty dudes up front, man, and they got some really big guys up front. And you got some smaller, shiftier running backs. You got Jet, who's going to be he's going to go over 1,000 yards. That's a given. Hopefully he stays healthy through the whole season. But just seeing those guys up front, from years past, they look like our guys in JUCO. Now they look like a Division I offensive lineman a team, and that group seems to be gelling really well. So I'm excited for the season for these guys.
The tight end room is interesting because they've got an infusion of talent from Arizona in Kean Burnett, and I know you were watching him run routes and catch.
Yes. Yeah, I know, everybody was talking about, hey, they're waiting for him to finally show up. And the 3 practices that I've been to, he's been showing up. And, I know they said he was, he wasn't working hard, but I see this guy going out. He's competing at a high level. One catch he made, it was a comeback route. He showed strong hands. The defensive back was all over him, so he was able to keep the ball away from his body. And then one-on-ones, he's just a nightmare. The kid is huge. The young defensive back, I feel for those guys trying to guard him one-on-one. And, like I said, it's going to be a good weapon for those guys if he can continue to improve and practice and transfer that over to the game. The way the game is played now, the way they're using tight ends, this young man can have a very big year.
Yeah, Burnett played 4 years at Arizona. I think he logged. It was a total of 640 snaps. Was kind of dinged up last year, so they have high hopes for him. On the younger end, one of their last recruits of the last class was a kid named Avian Williams, who is 6'5" and 265 at tight end. And can you remember the high school he went to? Because I know you and I were talking about it, that he was one of those guys, and this happens in recruiting where if you don't go to a football factory sometimes and you're on one of the high schools that may not be so great, sometimes you get under-recruited.
Yeah, young man from Casa Grande, Arizona. It's not a powerhouse in Arizona. When you think of Arizona football, you think of Chandler, Basha, and Hamilton. Casa Grande is not one of those schools that just jumps off you. But this young man is 6'5", 265 pounds is what he is listed at. And he moves like he doesn't move like he's 265 pounds. Very strong hands, being able to go up and compete at a high level. So with those 2 tight ends, man, that could be very good for these guys. Obviously, he's a freshman, but he's definitely going to get some time, and hopefully those guys can gel. And because they're going to need these guys, especially even in the blocking, in the running game, with that massive offensive lineman. And you throw 2 tight ends at 6'5", 250, and 265, it's going to be pretty tough for a defensive back to come downhill.
Mark McMillian is with us, the former NFL player. Chef Mark is up with Willie Ramirez and Cofield. Last couple of things on UNLV. There was a tweet from outside the market where someone was claiming they had sources saying that Jackson Arnold, the quarterback in from Oklahoma and Auburn, was having trouble with the progressions. And a lot of people fired back at him. I know people were asking me. I'm like, I haven't seen it. I've been out there. I haven't seen it. You have a different view of the quarterbacks. And that kind of was built. Then that turned into, well, it must be like a neck-and-neck quarterback battle. That's not the way I view it. I do think Alex Orji is coming on. He had a really good practice today. But what did you see from the quarterbacks throwing the ball?
I think Jackson is the guy. I know some fans might not like that, and maybe the coach is like, hey, man, you can't be saying that and coming to our practice, and we got to give Orji a fair chance. But I just got to speak from my experience and from my expertise of watching quarterbacks all my life. And, even from high school to college and to the NFL, I just think Jackson has the edge. His release is quicker. His decision-making is a lot quicker. The deep balls look really good as well. Like I said, Orji says, he had a massive injury last year, so you just don't know how well he's going to come back in competition. Practice is one thing, but when you ramp it up in game, that's a whole different story. But both of the guys are competing for the job, but in my eyes of what I've seen over the last couple of practices, I think Jackson has the edge.
Willie, I wanted to go in a direction that you mentioned earlier, and then you can go to where you want to go. I wanted to have you run your Offensive Rookie of the Year story. You were talking about that a little bit earlier, and run by some of the names with Mark, and we're talking about the NFL in this case. So who did you fire on, or who are you recommending?
Let me pull that up for you. As a matter of fact, that just came out today on Ball is Life on the betting site. So we sort of highlighted the favorite, the sleeper, the long shot, and my prediction. So the favorite, obviously, right now, Jeremiah Love. I think obviously if Fernando Mendoza, if we knew something different and Spytek and Kubiak didn't come out and say, hey, he's not going to start and we'll do it on our timeline when we feel he's ready, I think he would be the favorite. But Jeremiah Love is the favorite. Running back, Arizona Cardinals. Jordan Tyson I put in there as the sleeper. I think he's in a great spot to team up with Chris Olave. They've really built around Tyler Shuck. The long shot I put in was Kenyon Sadiq, tight end for the Jets. But the person I really think is going to thrive is Carnell Tate, wide receiver for the Titans. They've really built. They're trying to build around Cam Ward, last year's overall pick. I think those two are going to have a dynamic chemistry, and he could put up some eye-popping numbers.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm a big Jordan Tyson fan. I've been knowing this kid since he was in junior high school and obviously in high school back in Texas. Everybody knows that his brother plays forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I've been following his career for a while and what he was able to do from Colorado and then transfers over to ASU, and the numbers he put up was astronomical. He's a one-on-one nightmare, and you have Olave on the other side.
Yep.
So that should be really good for those guys. But I'm going with Jordan Tyson for my Rookie of the Year.
I can see it. I mean, I love what I see, and I really like the fact that they're buying in with this Tyler Shuck, and I think by teaming him up, as you mentioned, with Olave is fantastic. I mean, 6'2", 205 with the skill set. I mean, they're saying that it's going to be seamless. You know him better. Polished route running, explosiveness, and not afraid to go over the middle. You know, you obviously come in with the chip on your shoulder as a wide receiver, but to really be prepared mentally to get physical in the NFL as a wideout when you're going to be challenged. And that's a high flying division. So I agree with you in terms of, you know, one of the guys to watch. I penciled him in as the sleeper. I went with Carnell Tate, but you know what I'm really looking forward to more than anything, Mark? The fact that this could be the year of wide receiver. Like, we're going to see a lot of young wide receivers.
Yes. Yeah. And hopefully these guys can step up and be the receivers that we're looking for. You know, you look at the receiver from the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr., who had I would say, a dismal year last year. Last night, I thought he was going to get some reps, and I'm looking like this guy had a bad year as a rookie, and they're sitting him down in the Hall of Fame game. He should be out there getting as many reps as he can. I don't care what your last name is. I don't care if your dad's got a gold jacket. You need to get out there and get some reps in.
Well, while the wide receivers are taking over and the big names, you know, I found it very interesting. I saw an article, Mark, that the world's best-selling pizza chain in 2026 isn't Pizza Hut or Papa John's, which is fine with me. No knock on them. But I was still surprised to see what it was. Maybe I'm not, because I think you and I both know, especially if you have a pizza oven in your backyard like you do, it's Domino's.
Oh.
What would true pizza makers say about those three franchises?
Well, if you go to Philly, they'll probably throw a cheesesteak in your face. If you go to New York, they're probably ain't no telling what they'll throw at you in New York.
Well, the slices are so big in New York that they're just going to fling. All they got to do is fling one slice at you.
Yeah, that's shock. I guess with all the social media and the commercials, and obviously they were the sponsor of NFL franchises before, and then you last year what you had Papa John's busted on the scene, and then you got Little Caesars, who was a pizza partner for the NFL last year. So I think it's all about how much money you have and how much social media presence you have. But
it's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Rolling on here in about 20 minutes. We'll check in with Chuck Esposito, go behind the counter. Speaking of that, we've got a William Hill Sportsbook Pro Pick'em Contest entry to give away. As a winner of this call-in, has to be 21 plus. You're going to pick up the pass at the station, but it's a free chance to get into the William Hill Pro Pick'em Football Contest. No spreads, no guesswork. You just pick the winners, and you take your shot at a share of over $1.2 million in cash. It's just $25, and then every week you have a chance to share in those $10,000 weekly payouts. If you dominate the season, you pile up 215 wins or more. You could score a $1 million cash bonus. Season starts. Deadline is September 13th, technically September 12th. More information, location to sign up at williamhill.us. We got another guy on the phone, one of our regular guests from the Sporting Tribune and Arash Markazi, who we were talking to Sammy P earlier, and I'm like, I don't know where Sammy is. I don't know where anyone is. Everyone's been traveling and bouncing around and covered all these cool events. Arash, you were in Chicago. Where are you now?
I'm back home. I am in Los Angeles.
All right. Okay, well, we want to know about Chicago. So, first of all, I think you were there to cover Dodgers-Cubs and some WNBA. Let's get to Dodgers-Cubs first. What'd you think? Because it didn't go that well for the unbeatable Dodgers who were ruining baseball.
Yeah, they've lost 6 straight. I was there for Tarek Skubal's debut. Yeah, listen, I mean, this is not uncommon for the Dodgers this time of year. I think it was last year around this time where they lost, I think it was 5 straight and 7 of 9. This is 6 straight and like 8 of 10 or something like that. So not ideal. They're in Phoenix tonight for a 3-game series against the Diamondbacks, so we'll see how they do there. But yeah, I mean, listen, there's talk about them ruining baseball in since the trade deadline. Again, since Friday, they have not won a game in 1 week. So again, they've done this before. I'm not that concerned, but at some point, these guys have to win a game again.
All right, well, you know the Dodgers as well as anyone. You're at the games all the time. You cover them. I've been kind of pounding this one all week long. World Series odds right now, Dodgers are plus 150 to win the MLB title. The Cubs are 16-1. Would you bet the Dodgers and not the Cubs?
Yeah, listen, I like the feel generally in these things, but I'm not sold on the Cubs. I'm not saying that they couldn't go on a run here. But listen, I mean, like, I think that's what people are forgetting. I mean, we got the Brewers there, we got the Cubs there, we got the Braves,
Phillies.
Don't know what Phillies. So listen, here's the thing about the postseason, and I wrote this recently in the Sporting Tribune, is in the past 2 postseasons, as great as the Dodgers have been, and they've won back-to-back and all that stuff, you go back to 2024, they're down in that 5-game division series 2-1. The Padres should have closed it out in San Diego. The Dodgers rolled out a bullpen game. They didn't have any starters. They found a way to win that one. They closed out the series back home in Los Angeles. They go on to win the World Series. And then you go back to a year ago in the World Series. The Dodgers down 3-2, going back to Toronto for 2 games in Toronto, Game 6 and 7 in Toronto. The Blue Jays had a chance to win both of those games, certainly Game 7, and the Dodgers found a way to win that. So, yes, they look unbeatable now. What I'm telling you is not only are they going to go through this lull right now, I fully expect them once again to be down in a series and be put in this position where they've got to win 2 straight games. So, the season's not over, folks. Again, the Padres could have easily closed out the Dodgers in 24. The Blue Jays could have closed out the Dodgers last year. They did not. I think we're going to have an exciting postseason once again.
And for me, and again, this is stuff I talked about during the week, but I'll repeat it to you, our LA insider, Arash Markazi, is with the Sporting Tribune. I don't know who's pitching. So I know Yamamoto and Skubal, knock on wood. I think they're going to be there. But the other guys, I have no idea. You keep telling me they're coming back, but I don't know when they're coming back. And I also don't know if they're going to last.
Well, that's the big thing. Again, there's this feeling that they're going to come back, but we don't know what they're going to look like when they come back. We don't know what the ramp-up is going to be. Again, Blake Snell is on track to return to the Dodgers next week. We'll see how he does. Tyler Glasnow was supposed to return at some point in late August, maybe September. And then Shohei Ohtani around that time, too. But again, what are these guys going to look like? So again, when you looked at the Dodgers in 24, they really leaned on their bullpen. In 25, it was the starting pitching. So, but you bring up a great point. When they made the trade for Skubal, my thing was this wasn't a luxury trade. I mean, we don't know, to your point, Snell, Glasnow, and Ohtani were 3 of their top guys, 3 of their top 4 starters. And they are all not pitching with the team, and we don't know what they're going to look like when they do come back.
Arash, the Sparks were recently in Chicago. They dropped the 7-point decision. It seemed as if they, being sellers at the deadline and getting rid of Kelsey Plum, that they had sort of packed it in, that they had sort of conceded. But then they go into Minnesota, and they upset the number 1 team in the league, 89-82. What are you getting from the facility and just what as far as, first off, where did the disconnect come with Kelsey Plum, because she went there with the intention of helping to rebuild that no matter how long it was going to take and be close to home. Now she wants out, and she goes to a team that I don't know if Phoenix can make a run. So was it Lynn Roberts? Was it the organization? Was it the players? And then second is, can the Sparks make a late run with Brink as the face of this franchise?
So here's the thing about that. What a fascinating trade. I mean, with the Sparks, this rebuild has taken a lot longer and will take a lot longer. No one has basically conveyed to this team that you got a tank. So when I talked to Lynn Roberts, Cameron, Burrington, De'Aric Hamby in Chicago. They were distraught. They came back. They took the lead late in that game. Again, following that trade, they beat Portland. They almost came back and beat Chicago. Some way, somehow, Willie. I mean, they get on a flight. They land in Minneapolis 2 o'clock in the morning. They play that day. They win that game. Again, this is kind of going against what the team, quite frankly, would want. I mean, they would like the Phoenix Mercury to kind of tank and the Sparks to tank. They got those 2 first-round picks that they would like to be drafting as high as possible. Obviously, the prize of this draft is Juju Watkins, but you look at the rest of the draft, Hannah Hidalgo, Madison Booker. You got some great talent. So, again, this is a common thing, as you know, Willie. I've been hoping that the Sparks were going to be contenders for quite some time. For the 6th straight year, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. It is amazing how they are playing. I do give them credit for that. You never know with Nneka Ogwumike and De'Aric Hamby and Cam Brink really coming on. Maybe they go on a run late, but again, I don't think that behooves the team in terms of trying to get a high draft pick. Again, these players don't care about that. But on the flip side, they are really positioned to really be contenders in the not-too-distant future. They are, when I say almost done, they are constructing a $250 million, or maybe that's too high of a price. But anyway, it is a very high-priced practice facility. It is going to be the nicest in the league from what I've been told. So you got that. You got Mark Walter money. You got this team will contend at some point, Willie. But, man, I mean, it's been 6 years of, no playoff contention.
My question is, while you were in Chicago, did you visit, because you love to eat good food, you love great wine, did you get to eat in a restaurant that was closed, but they let you come in and made you special meals anyway?
No, that is only with Willie Ramirez when they open the door and the chef comes out and they say, "What would you like to?" So I did not get to do that, unfortunately. We're going to have to travel together at some point soon where I can get treated like that.
Turn on the ovens. Let's go. Bake me some bread. Sir, we don't have any bread.
Right.
Bake it. Let's go. Okay. In very much a Chicago-centric story hits this week, and obviously LA story as well. The way I view this is USC held out and got what it wanted in the Notre Dame rivalry. They are going to be playing again starting up in 2030, and it will be early in the season because that's the way it has to be for SC.
Yeah, listen, USC's in the Big Ten now, and they are not in a position. And again, there are traditionalists. By the way, if you're a college football traditionalist at this point, I don't know what to tell you. They're paying guys now. There's essentially a salary cap. Some teams have. There's I'm a traditionalist too. I was, but you can't hold on true traditions. Anyways, what USC is saying, we're in the Big Ten now, so we're not playing Washington State or U of A. We have an October schedule where we're going to play Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, we have 4 top 10 teams that are, so we cannot schedule a game non-conference and go to South Bend or schedule Notre Dame to come to the Coliseum in November. Again, that was the good old days. What they're saying is, and what they said from the beginning, we would love to continue the tradition. Let's make it a week 1 thing. And Notre Dame did not want to do that. And at the end of the day, they finally came to their senses and realized, listen, they're in a different situation than we're in. We can schedule cupcakes all we want. USC cannot. And so at least they came to that conclusion, and we get it. The unfortunate thing is we got to wait 4 years, so we resume in 2030, and things will get back to somewhat normalcy. What I will say, having gone to Chicago just now, and again, the reason that's important is, USC fans, whatever, they fly into Chicago, have fun in Chicago, make the 2-hour drive to South Bend for the game. Chicago's amazing this time of year, guys. Chicago's amazing in early September. So this was my first time really getting to experience the city, where you get to get on the boat and the jet ski and the beach and the lake shore.
Incredible.
It's amazing. So it will be a great tradition, and it'll continue. Unfortunately, we have a 4-year gap here, but things will get back to normal in 2030.
Arash, you are the man. You can feel the time. We are running out, so we're going to break. Thanks, Arash. We appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, time for our A Spotlight. We do it every day at 4:35. We're on ESPN Reno and ESPN Las Vegas. Right now, scoreless in the bottom of the second. By the way, some of these alternate uniforms, I don't know if you guys have the A's and Red Sox on TV in studio. I don't even, what are the Reds? I can't even tell the Reds. It's like Team Puerto Rico. And I'm also colorblind. They're wearing some kind of green outfit. It's not St. Patrick's Day. I'm like, and they're playing the A's, who like their colors are. I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. I sound like a really grumpy old guy. I just want to be able to look at the TV and know who's playing, Willie.
What was this that was on, Jay? We just saw something on this TV. It was the White Sox, but the uniform they was wearing. So it must be throwback for the entire league or something, because the White Sox.
They might be doing those City Connect, which are in general horrific.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, strong word to use for the A's, but they dumped their GM today, David Forst. They've now lost 12 consecutive series, and of course now they go right into a friggin' buzzsaw, or the proverbial frying pan in Boston, where the Red Sox have won 9 straight series. And I'm telling you, so much of this, Willie, yes, they have some frontline great pitchers, but so much of it is, like, out of nowhere, they developed all these young pitchers. And the A's are having to go against one of them tonight, and right now they're surviving. But Jack Perkins is on the other side, who's been anything but reliable.
It's just wild how this schedule has panned out, because if you look across what the A's have had to endure, and it's no excuse, but they just can't catch a break. But the Red Sox, on the other hand, 31-5. You're talking about series. I'm talking about games themselves. 31-5 since June, I believe, 25th. And while their pitching is doing fantastic, holding teams to 3.1 runs per game, they're hitting 254 in a 36-game span. And in the 36 games, they've hit 50 home runs, averaging 5.5 runs. Now, it's one thing to go on a winning run, 5 games, 9 games, an 8-1 run in your offense, but 36 games, and they're maintaining a 5+ run per game average. So it's not a good combination when you have the pitching staff that the A's have had to date. And you said buzzsaw. It's about the right word, because in having to play in Boston, it's not good. Boston coming off of a 3-game sweep of the White Sox, right, leading the AL Central. When Boston was in Sacramento at the end of July, they went 3-1. Now, it's weird because as well as Boston has been playing and hitting, the score, yes, they went 3-1, but their scores weren't as big as you might have thought, and they were close games. They won 4-2, 4-2, 5-4. The Athletics did take one game 4-3. So see if they can hang. I don't think it's going to happen. Boston comfortable at home, playing the 4th game of this homestand, and the A's still on the road, and now making moves in the front office.
I can't even believe that the Red Sox and A's are going to get this game in. By the way, just a jack right there off of Perkins, a 2-run home run. Yep, so 2-0 now for the Red Sox. I'm surprised they're not getting precip tonight, because right now, when you look at the scoreboard, Cincinnati's at Washington, delayed. The Mets are in Pittsburgh, delayed. Toronto's in Philly, delayed. Atlanta at the Yankees, delayed. I don't think I've ever seen that before. How big is this storm? My God. So 5 games right now, or 4 games being delayed around Major League Baseball.
The rain would show up.
Right? They need the rain every single game the way they've been playing lately. That home run was from Jaron Duran, who's not had a great year. He's been productive with homers and ribs, but the average is sitting down at 205. So Red Sox up 2-0. On the way back, we're going to check in with Chuck Esposito. He's back with us from the STN Sportsbooks. Of course, that is the book right here inside the TI Vegas.
Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
We know football is here. Hall of Fame game last night. And how do we know? Chuck Esposito's back in the fold from the STN Books, and we're here at one of the books at TI Vegas at the Golden Circle Sports Bar with 55-plus TVs, checking out all the games as the A's just fell behind 2-0 against the Red Sox. Chuck is in with us. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Steve. How are you today?
I am good. First of all, you are doing well. I hope you're all good health-wise after I know the summer wasn't the easiest.
No, it wasn't. I appreciate all the support. I'm doing great. It's good to be back with the start of football season. I'm just excited. You could tell yesterday, even though it was a preseason game, there's just a different kind of buzz and atmosphere in the book. Our handle on that preseason game was greater than some baseball games, which is hard to believe. What? But it just shows you the power of football. It's good that it's back. We've got our last man standing contest that we started taking applications for, and you can just feel it. You can just feel the atmosphere that everyone's more excited that football season is finally here.
I'm curious about last night, the handle itself. Was it side and total? Did you put any prop bets? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't really delve into the preseason, but for some write-ups and some sites that I'm doing some stuff for, they asked me to look into it. And the one prop I looked at, I was like, you know what? First of all, the over in the first half looks great because Carson Beck's going to try to come out firing. And I couldn't find it anywhere, but I wanted to find something like over passing touchdowns for the kid.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of props up for the preseason, Willie. I think it's more there's so much unpredictability. We're going to move preseason games so much faster. When you talk about the regular season, it takes a lot to push us off, say, the number 3. Either way, and we're probably going to add juice maybe first before we move off 3. In preseason, you may move a full point off 3. You may go from 3 to 4. You're going to move games much more aggressively. You're going to see point spreads that move several points. And it's all about information. We're in an information era. Our guests are extremely educated. We're looking at stuff on social media as they are. But it really comes down to a lot of its quarterback rotations, which are published, which you kind of have an idea of how much each quarterback's going to play. You look at teams that have maybe veteran quarterbacks that are trying to make the team. There are some coaches that put a bigger priority on winning a preseason game. Yeah. There's some first-time coaches that want to change the culture of their team and maybe want to win that game. So there's a lot of things to kind of factor in, but it's just amazing how many guests will ask, where's this game going to be? Where's that game going to be? And I think, there's no games this weekend, but next week, starting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with all the preseason games, I think you're going to see a really robust handle. There's only 3 of them every year now, and it just goes, again, what I said earlier, it just shows you the power of football.
And from a bookmaker standpoint, when a game like last night in the Hall of Fame game goes down the way that it did, I would imagine it adds to a little excitement to bettors, like, oh man, I got to jump on this, and to want to play.
I think it just whets the appetite. It's football season. The game came down to the wire. You had 2 young quarterbacks kind of going at it in this game, and I think it just makes it that much more exciting. You could just tell by more people kind of sitting out there in the book on a Thursday night than maybe you would normally on a Thursday in August because it was preseason. And you're going to have so many guests next week that ask, hey, is the Bengal game going to be on? Or is the Lion game going to be on? What screen is it going to be on? There's not a package, per se, for preseason football. And there's always maybe that 1 or 2 games that isn't on. But there's more and more games that are televised and shown. And there's more guests that ask about it, even than baseball games at this time of year. Again, I know I've said it a few times, but it's football season. And guests get jazzed about it and excited about it. And they want to see, is it Jeremiah Love going to play? What young quarterbacks are going to get some time? I think Mendoza will play much more for the Raiders in the preseason than he probably will in the regular season unless something catastrophic happens with Cousins or they're really, really bad. They play in a tough division. I don't foresee, a tremendous amount of success out of the gate. And I think they make the right call by letting Mendoza sit, for as much as they possibly can. When you listen to a lot of, football guys, prior to last year, he wasn't even someone they had thought about inviting to the Combine. He had the one big year. He was phenomenal. He deserved to be the number 1 pick, and hopefully he's the Raiders franchise quarterback. But I think he does need to sit a bit, and there's a lot of things he's admittedly said, I need to learn and be quicker at against pro football defenses. So I know Raider Nation's probably hoping it's Mendoza, but I think they make the right call, guys, with Cousins going for as long as they possibly can.
Speaking with Chuck Esposito, make sure you check out the book down at the TI, all of your options for football, college, and pro. All right, you mentioned handicapping the coaches in the preseason. One guy who has really put a heavy emphasis in his tenure is John Harbaugh. I believe he's 43-12, I want to say. But he just recently said that he's leaning toward playing the Giants starters in the preseason. Obviously not surprising, but how much do you sort of take in consideration when you're putting your lines up, oh, that's a Harbaugh coach team?
Yeah, it's always something we think about, guys. Like I said earlier, I mean, I think when when it's a team, too, that was drafting in the top, 5 to 7, you want to change the culture there. I think if it's, the Raiders' new coach, if it was the Cardinals' new coach, if it's Harbaugh now, you want to get the fans kind of engaged and juiced, and you want to get a win. They're going to remember, they're going to hear, oh yeah, the Raiders went 3-0 in the preseason, and maybe it gets that fan base a little bit more excited. It gives the team a little bit more confidence, and I think you take all that into consideration as you get closer to these preseason games, that there are coaches that put a little bit more of a priority on it.
Chuck, so let's talk about the futures. Which teams are taking the most Super Bowl money versus the biggest liability, Publix versus the sharp action?
Well, I can tell you the biggest liability, and you guys will laugh because it's the Las Vegas Raiders. Our guess, it's no different than the Knights or the Aces. They're going to back them, all the time. And for me, I mean, I understand it and I get it, but I mean, the Raiders play in a really tough division. You can make a case that the Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos could all be playoff teams next year. You could have 3 teams. So I think it's going to be a monumental task for the Raiders to be a playoff team. I think you're going to see an improvement there. I like what they did in the offseason, but I still think it's tough. Teams that you're seeing money on are the Chargers, the Broncos, the Texans are getting a lot of love. Bears are clearly getting a lot of love. And then the Falcons, too. I think when you look at the Falcons, that are the Buccaneers that much better at 50-1 and the Falcons are at 80-1? So they're getting some love as well. Those are kind of the teams from a value perspective that you're looking at. I think teams like the Patriots, the Bears, the Seahawks, all potential regression teams, but they're still getting some love as far as the future book goes.
What about your season win totals? Where are your liabilities there?
Some of the same teams I just talked about now. The Jets are getting some love on the over, which is 5.5. You look at their schedule; they're getting some love on the over. There's some under money that's come in on Chicago, some under money that's come in on Detroit. I think you just look at strength of schedule a bit, and some of these teams that maybe overachieved a little bit now and are playing that first place schedule. You're seeing some of the sharp money come in against that. So. But, hey, it's a long season. A lot of it's based on injury and health and how teams get out of the gate. But those are some of the teams that we're seeing bet either the over or under at this point.
Chuck Esposito with us from the STN book, and they've got the book here at TI as we're inside the Golden Circle Sports Bar. I see across the way a new sign that used to say $50. Now it says $100. Did you guys up the no-worry wager?
We did. With the start of football season, again, we want to get people excited about it. If they happen to lose that bet, hey, they're going to get $100 right back into their account. So, it's such a great time to sign up for STN Sports. There's so many different betting options on it, funding options. With football season here, we love when guests come in and enjoy everything we have to offer, not only at Red Rock, but at TI and all of our racing sports books. But having the sports book in the palm of your hand with STN Sports and to kick it off for new guests with this STN with the $100 no-worry wager, we think it's great.
Let's talk awards, and I want your take on, first of all, who would you recommend as the NFL MVP versus, who the favorites are, but who would you recommend? Like, who do you like?
I think it's so hard to say. Right now, it's hard to go against a guy like Josh Allen. They go into a new stadium. There's a new coaching staff there. They add DJ Moore to the mix. They play in a division where the Patriots are now going to play that number 1 schedule, and maybe they're a regression team. The Jets and Dolphins don't appear to be threats in that division. I think, Josh Allen, just listening to him talk and some of the things that he has said, they go into this new stadium. I think there's a little bit more pressure on him to do better in the postseason and to have that great regular season. So it might be a popular pick. I'm not going kind of off the slate at all, but I think Josh Allen is a real candidate to be MVP.
Yeah, you guys have him as a favorite at plus 575. I think one of my favorite things that happened during the summer was when those NFL 100 lists come out, and Lamar Jackson fell all the way down to 69, and then I look up at the MVP board. He's second choice at 7-1.
Yep. Yeah, they've got a new offensive coordinator there, the kid from the Bears, Deacon Doyle, and he's been excited. They locked up Flowers to a new deal. So he didn't have a great year last year. So I look for a bounce-back year there, too. I think the Chargers, adding Mike McDonald as their offensive coordinator, that Justin Herbert is, they talked about him getting the ball out quicker, that, McConkey becomes a valuable clog in that underneath. Hampton, if he stays healthy and their offensive line stays healthy, that McDonald could have this offense much better than it was last year. So, I look at some of the value plays, too. I think Justin Herbert might be one of those value plays as well.
You know what's incredible about the MVP award, as we're talking to Chuck Esposito, is that I understand from a contract standpoint that running backs have been devalued, but they still do hold some importance. And there is not a running back to be found until, if I'm correct, Jahmyr Gibbs is the first running back at 100-1.
I think a lot of it is health. It is so tough for these running backs to play the entire season with the pounding they take. And I think it's interesting that you've seen kind of a running backs getting paid. That has not been the case for a long time. And now you've seen Gibbs get paid, you've seen Robinson get paid, you've seen Taylor get paid all in the last 72 hours. And maybe it's a little bit of the changing of the guard that you've seen these teams that are so successful running the ball, and the Chiefs who invested in Kenneth Walker in the offseason to run the ball. And Jeremiah Love going third. That it seemed like the onus was against running backs for a while, but I think it's kind of swaying back that way a bit, guys. So there might be some value with guys like Robinson, Taylor, and of course Gibbs.
You've got a UFC event going down this weekend, and then a bigger one next week in Philly. I'm sure it's probably been a pretty decent summer for handle between the McGregor fight and the White House card. What's it looking like for UFC coming up with these next couple of cards? Is there interest?
Oh, there absolutely is. I mean, we're showing all these games, all these cards in our books. There absolutely is interest. I think, again, guys, this time of year, the more stuff you can add to the wagering menu, and the popularity of UFC and preseason football starting now, and baseball heading into the pennant stretches, it's just a kind of a win-win for us. I'm going to scream, from the mountaintops, yay sportsbooks. The more stuff we can kind of add and do now, and check out the app. There's so many different things on there now that you wouldn't think of. That it's just kind of a win-win for us.
Chuck, let's wrap in the last 30 seconds here. You mentioned Last Man Standing, so give that a pop so that people know what's going on.
Yeah, our signature contest, Last Man Standing, it's a college contest. We guarantee $100K to the winner. Our pro contest, $150. It is aggregate payout, so if there are multiple contestants that tie, they would split it. It's a $25 entry fee, though. So $25 gets you one entry. At $100 gets you four and a bonus fifth entry for either one of them. I think the great thing, guys, really quick, is that there's some great contests out there, but they are big, big money contests. You want to get in a contest and have some fun for $25, you can potentially win $100 or $150K. As I like to say, Brian Blessing taught me this: matchsticks to lumber yards for $25, guys.
There you go.
Let's go.
Chuck, thank you. Glad you're doing well. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good to be back.
I'm so glad he mentioned Brian Blessing. Brian, on an interview we did like 7 years ago, popped up on my Facebook memories. I instantly had to share that one.
It's Cofield and Company.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Partying.
Yeah, all right. I jumped the gun, but so what? Fun. Party. It's a Friday. Willie Ramirez is here. It's Cofield. Willie, there is never a slow month in Vegas in terms of visitors coming to town. And I'm not complaining. But I've been in a run of a bunch of people hanging out in Vegas. It's been a good time. I actually saw our good buddy, and he's not coming in from out of town, but I saw our good buddy last night, Greg Salerno.
Oh.
Yeah, Big Greg. Big Greg. He was on one. It was good times. Judge Dan from Denver was in studio the other day, and he's actually staying here at Treasure Island. He's got a couple of different functions that he's taking part in, so Dan just stopped by the show, and he had a good topic the other day. He was talking about the Broncos and their PSLs because, they have a new stadium on the way. And it's funny, in every market, fans that haven't been accustomed to having to buy the personal seat licenses are just not aware of what it is. And then when they find out the details of what it is, the outrage is through the freaking roof. And Broncos fans are already starting to get super pissed off.
Speaking of PSLs, I saw on, you love the app Threads. I don't frequent it unless something, when I'm on Instagram, it'll refer me to something I may be interested in, but I don't go to it. But I saw a topic, and I started reading the thread on Threads. I did not realize, and this answers a lot of questions that I've had during recent home games at the Aces and gone, wow, they're announcing the 39th straight sellout. Well, it didn't look sold out. There are a lot of disgruntled season ticket holders that I did not realize, and people that are trying to back out and do not want to renew, or people chimed in saying, yeah, that's why we didn't renew this year.
Which team?
The Las Vegas Aces, the defending champion in the WNBA.
So their attendance, they count sold, but there's a lot of people not showing up now?
Yeah.
Why are they disgruntled? Is this a WNBA controversy political thing? What is it?
It is. Apparently, well, a lot of people don't like the fact that if they don't get there, if a weekday game, they get off work and they're racing down there to get in for a 7 o'clock game, but once a certain time hits, they don't know if they're going to get in on time or if they're going to even get a parking spot. They don't know if they're going to park on the third floor or the roof. They feel as if as season ticket holders, they were told they would get preferential treatment. They're not. And the one complaint, the common denominator, the common complaint, everyone had their own issue, but the common thing was every time they've won a championship each year, something gets worse. The cost goes up. The quality of treatment toward the season ticket holder goes down. And I find it sort of ironic. I've said this, and I'm not, because I'm actually fine with where we're sitting now as the media, but every time they won a championship, the media's gotten moved because they do something different, whether they're upselling for VIP seats or whatever. We used to sit behind the bench and the scorer's table. Then it was up by the DJ or behind the baseline, behind the basketball stanchion. Then they moved us up a couple of tiers on the riser, and they put VIP seats in front of us, and we couldn't see anything because they'd stand up. Now we're up on the second floor just off the concourse. Security guards stand there, so you can't really get into where we're sitting. I don't mind it. The view is fine. There's easy access to the elevator. I just find it interesting that season ticket holders – oh, and by the way – there are only certain people that can get into the courtside club. That obviously if you're down on the floor, but nevertheless, there are just certain features that are no longer available, yet the prices have gone up, which I found interesting. The what you're offering to your season ticket holders, you're pulling some of those things away. And here's the thing. This is all off Threads and them voicing their opinions. I did not start making phone calls trying to write a story about it. So I don't know the Aces side of the story. I just know that there are some unhappy season ticket holders and the prices went up. Why? Well, because the WNBA players deserve to make millions of dollars. And the fans agreed. Well, so guess what? The prices of the tickets went up. But apparently, according to
wouldn't those salaries all be justified by the massive increase in the TV deals?
Well, yes, but apparently the season ticket holder prices have increased.
Okay.
So
do we hear these complaints about the Raiders? Because it's all under the same umbrella, sort of, with Mark Davis. Yeah. I would have to think that if Mark hears about some of these complaints, that he'd be pretty interested in remedying them, pretty quickly.
Yeah, this was the first that I'd ever seen or heard. This was this morning. I literally just saw it this morning, and I probably made the mistake of not copying or forwarding the link or figuring out how to – I really don't know how to operate Threads. All I know is if I'm on Instagram and it says, you might be interested in this, and I click it. I saw something about season ticket fan. I clicked it, and I read the thread on Threads, but I don't know how to maneuver around it. If it's just like Twitter, then I'm going to start forwarding links. But I should have probably found it. We can revisit it next week because I'll re-find it for you. And if you'll have me back on next week, we could discuss it.
The funny thing is when you said you don't know how to share on Threads, I laughed at you, and then I thought to myself, like, I don't know how to use anything. So I actually know how to use Threads, but like more often than not during the day or at night, I'm like, this damn app, but I would have, like, whatever it is. I still have no idea how to use IG, Twitter. I also feel like they all change. That they like, there's one standard for a while, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what happened to the share, the like, the posting? And
they just move the stuff all around, or they change the little buttons for everything. So it's kind of But anyway, So we
sound like we are combined 138 years old.
I'm gonna have to do a little deep dive on this and find out what's going on. You
should. Right? We want to know what the fans think, and if they're unhappy, especially with a league that's surging, they should not be unhappy. They had to be happy with the result last night. Aces got a nice win in dramatic fashion.
They did. Unbelievable. I mean, between the Hall of Fame game and the Aces Fever game, man, talk about if you were a sports fan watching, bouncing back and forth from those two games, to get to see some buzzer beaters and walk-off wins in football. Chelsea Gray with back-to-back double buzzer-beating shots, one to force overtime, one for the win, and off of missed free throws, Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, and then a Caitlin Clark snafu. She threw the ball away. Then she gets tangled up with Asia Wilson, turnovers. She took it. She went in the press conference and she held herself accountable and put it on herself. And I read somewhere that that she stayed after and security stayed with her so she could go shoot like 100 free throws or whatever it was. I don't know if I'm making that number up, but she apparently she stayed in the arena and went and shot free throws after the arena cleared and she finished with media. Taking responsibility for the loss. I really can't stand when a superstar, feels the need and it feels obligated. That's the kind of weight that they bear. But they didn't lose because Caitlin Clark's miscues at the end, because she missed free throws. And this is a team that lost a 20-point lead. And her or Kelsey Mitchell didn't lose it on their own. And you know what? They've probably been the best duo in the WNBA for the last 2-3 weeks. So it's one thing to be very critical of Caitlin Clark, but when she goes into press conference and takes accountability for an entire loss when as a team blew a 20-point lead, I don't think that she should have shouldered that burden. It's easy to point the finger at someone that misses a crucial free throw at the end that could have put them up by 2 possessions or had a turnover, yes, but that didn't lose the game. Caitlin Clark didn't lose that game for them. She could have done something to put the game out of reach, but the team lost to the Aces. Just like Chelsea Gray, she hit the buzzer beater, but the Aces won as a team.
State of Indiana is kind of a mixed bag right now with sports. They got some really good things going on with the Fever, and having Caitlin Clark. They just won a national championship with Indiana football. Indiana basketball is super frustrating. The Colts, I think, are going to be on the bounce back if one of the more miraculous comebacks happens with Danny Dimes. And then there's Purdue. Basketball is great. Purdue football, though, our guy Barry Odom is trying to rebuild the whole thing. Yeah. I had told you, for a few months now, going back to last year, that Barry was facing a very unsettled situation in the athletic department. That alignment we always talk about, from president on down, everyone's got to be in a line or you're not going to win. And I think Barry walked into a situation he didn't realize what was going on, or things changed. So they just hired an AD in Tommy McClelland. He tried to be enthusiastic, but what did he do?
So he took a dig at Indiana, and let's let him tell you what he did and come back and react. James, run this.
Every recruit, every current student athlete will hear this message repeatedly. We are here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana.
Oops.
I mean, the timing on this, Tommy, is a little bit strange.
Oops.
Was that a brain fart? What's going on here?
Apparently, he went on the Pat McAfee show and to explain himself. He said, listen, What makes college athletics great is rivalries, right? I'm having a great day yesterday, giving our vision, sharing what we're going to do here at Purdue, how we're going to set the standard and raise the bar for what's possible. And I made an offhand, unscripted comment about an in-state rival that didn't land. I knew it the second it left my mouth. But at the same time, I'm also trying to establish what the standard is going to be like here at Purdue in order for us to achieve what we want to do. You have to send a message to your fan base. I don't know. I don't know. Do we give him a pass? He was enthusiastic. He's ready. He's building it up. Oops, they just went undefeated. And what are they, 27-2 the last 2 years?
One, he's an outsider. So I'm sure he's aware of what Indiana's done recently, but I think when you first get to a market, you get caught up.
Yeah.
You have people tell you, because you know this happens with Nevada and UNLV, right? Coaches or ADs who might not be familiar with the market, and there's been a few that have come from the outside, it just gets drilled into them like you have to take shots at Nevada or UNLV on one side or the other. You just have to do it. Like that's required.
Yeah.
That's the measuring stick. So you got to bury him any chance you get. Take shots at him, and I think he just didn't process. He forgot.
Well, you know what's funny?
One.
You know what's funny you say that. Do you remember when we were still in Zoom era and we got Marcus Arroyo on the Zoom? Just before the Zoom, because I remember, I think I was the one that asked in the Zoom. I can't remember, but everyone was on there. But do you remember he made the comment and saying, we're not going to put an emphasis. The most important game is not the Reno game. We're not putting an emphasis on that game. We're focusing on winning every game. That's no longer going to be something to the effect of where Reno is not the important game. And at the time, guess what? That was the game that mattered most.
Yes. Yeah, when you're a 3-4 win program, you better beat your rival. The funny thing is he, in a way, he was right because, yes, it's important. They do not want to lose. I mean, if they lose, that's the beginning of a disastrous moment. But the football program now, I mean, the Nevada game is kind of just another game. I mean, it means a lot more. Here's the thing. When you're on the wrong side of the rivalry, it means everything.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, Wolfpack football was just better than Rebel football, so that was the game. But now that the Rebels have goals of winning 8, 9, 10, 11 games and making the CFP, now the Nevada game is just kind of a nuisance. Like, you better win it, but it's not one that you're worried about all year long.
Well, you're right, but I might beg to differ. Like, UNLV is not Michigan, and UNLV is not Ohio State. UNLV is not Florida or Florida State. And in essence, these are teams that from year to year contend for a national title at conference. But those games matter.
Yeah.
Those rivalry games matter. So in relevance to what, it's not Power 5, but in relevance to what UNLV is in the Mountain West, I don't know. I think it's still just as important. I think if you go through and you win the Mountain West and you get to the champion or you get to the championship in the Mountain West, they're still going to look back and go, yeah, well, you lost to Reno.
By the way, update on the A's game. They're getting no hit through 5, so this isn't going well. They're down 5-0. They've lost 12 series in a row. They're going against a team that is on a 31-5 run. You just mentioned Michigan in that final comment, and I wanted to go back to today with UNLV practice, and today was running backs day, so a lot of focus on Jet Thomas, the running back coach, Quentin Ganther, who played in the NFL, was a coach at Utah with Whittingham. He spoke. Jay Glover, who was at Utah, was playing for Whittingham, also was recruited heavily by Dan Mullen back in the day, and that's why Mullen loved him so much and wanted to bring him in. I think Glover is, again, this is, a lot of it depends on health, because last year he just wasn't healthy at the beginning of the year, but this could be a really interesting mix with Jet Thomas and Jalen Glover, and we had a chance today to grab Jalen Glover for a few minutes, and we have the sound here. I want to fire this one as Glover starts talking about the combination, what sort of combination these guys can be. And, yes, they're competitive. Yes, they want to battle for carries, but they also are buddies, and they want to produce big time.
We got a little saying, we go Sonic and Knuckles. I think watching Jet play just only gives me motivation to be great. Similar games, but I think we all have our own significant things that's really special to us. But, I love playing with Jet. I mean, it's just fun coming to practice every day because he's a great back. I would say I'm a good back as well, and we just, like I said, we just compete.
It appears as though you're having a really good camp. How do you feel about what you're doing out there?
Honestly, I just want to appreciate Coach Mullen and also Coach Dennis. I took extra time to understand like the blocking schemes, where guys are going, just kind of get into the playbook. So Mullen always tell me when I sit down and meet with him, once you know the offense, you play faster, and I think I've been showing that out here.
Can you grade last season in terms of, it was kind of up and down with health?
Right. You talking as a team or me? Grade. Personally, I'm my biggest critic. I'll give me like a C, flat C. Only due to the fact, like, just knowing the opportunities that I did have, I feel like I could have made more of them. Not to say that, some could say I could have got more, some could have said I needed less, but personally, me, this year won't be the same.
If I recall correctly, you had an ankle early, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
how when did you finally feel like you were, 100% Glover?
Probably by like week four. Week four, I was ready to spin. Think around, after that Sam Houston game, I was ready to go.
How would you define all you guys as a whole?
Grit, toughness, speed, and intelligence. We got some smart guys in the room. Coach Q always say we're the erasers because sometimes old linemen might get beat or sometimes we might not push to the right guy, but we have to clean that up. And we want the guys to stay out the quarterback. And just like in the run game, we want to erase in the run game. If it's a double team and they don't get up to the backer, we got to make that backer miss.
Yeah, it's funny how often, we get sort of super focused on the production. And, yeah, Jalen Glover had 112 yards on 6 carries against Boise. He had 99 yards on 12 carries against Colorado State. But, he just told you something real important there. Neither one of those guys will play in key situations. I think Jet Thomas is fine. But if you don't block and keep people off the quarterback, Willie, you're not going to be on the field. Pass pro is extremely important. Yes, catching the ball out of the backfield is important, but you got to be a good blocker. And it's interesting for both of those guys because Glover, I didn't get to ask him. I'm always the guy, and I'm not like saying, hey, I'm the only one who'll do it. I am always intrigued by how guys are in terms of year to year, their physical conditioning and what they weigh and all that. Easy for me to say, right? But Glover is listed at 5'8", 210. I think he's bigger than 210 right now, and I'm not saying he's fat. He is a freaking monster. Jet is at like 191. He told me at Mountain West Conference Media Day that going back to his freshman year, he was actually in the high 160s. He was like 168 when he first got here, so he's put on like 25 pounds of muscle. And it's also the reason why the Jet Thomas story will be really interesting this year. You and I talked about the numbers a few weeks ago about average touches per game, and last year was 14.4 average touches per game. I think it'll go up, but I think in general those guys are going to get a much heavier load of touches than they did a year ago until the quarterbacks get super confident and the receivers sort of establish themselves. We see if there's some weapons inside. These guys are going to get a lot of the load early on.
How much do you believe the emphasis on the running game and then the success of it, right? So the marriage between, hey, let's go to the running back, and we have the successful running back, and then we have the successful blocker out of the backfield, or we have the successful combo running back who can catch out of the backfield, and then it turns into success because of the program, the system. Is that going to translate into making it easier for Mullen to recruit down the road? Say, hey, this is what we've done with our running back room, and this is where, does it not make a difference?
No, I think they're a lot more balanced. I think his rep for the kind of offense he runs, a lot of people think it's just fire the ball all over the field, but it actually is pretty run heavy. And you can see their philosophy. They're really concentrating on making sure that they're strong in the trenches, and their O-line is bigger and deeper than I've ever seen it. I mean, it seems like they're convinced that the guard they brought in, who can also play tackle, but Colton Thomason, who is 6'8" and 340 pounds from Baylor and Texas A&M, it looks like he's locked up a position. Taase, who's I think he's now a redshirt sophomore, he goes like 330. He's going to be at the other guard. Their tackles are massive. The line is bigger than it's ever been. I mean, they moved Austin Boyd in to be a good-sized center. Now it's 6'4" and 300 pounds. Now they're going to have a good run game. And the other thing is, we were talking about it last week. You can see in practice there's going to be lots of plays where Jackson Arnold and Orji are going to be on the move. And they're going to use their power. And they're going to get downhill. So early on, this is going to be in general, it's a team that's going to operate, I think, a lot more in the middle of the field than they did a year ago, where they worked the outside and there was a lot of rollout. I'm fired up to see what they're going to do, and we've talked a lot about the defense, and we'll get more into the defense next week. As a couple of roster updates we should mention. So Cohen Fuller came back at the beginning of the week. He's officially back. He's super senior defensive tackle. He challenged the NCAA on a fifth year because he had played some JUCO football. So he's back at whatever he is right now. 6'1.5", 6'2", 310 pounds. Donovan Spellman, a veteran edge, was out there yesterday with a jersey on and like short football pants, but no pads. Today he was in pads, so he was out there. He'll give them essentially a fifth or sixth guy in the rotation at the edge position, and he played, I think it was like 231 snaps last year in 14 games. So, and then the other intriguing one, Willie, is LaTerrence Welch, who logged some time with the Nighthawks and was ready to play pro football. Well, with the 5-5 thing, they think they have a good challenge, and they're working with the paperwork. And yesterday he was out there, and he was kind of spraying everyone with the water. I mentioned on my wrap-up video, I'm like, he was playing the role of the water boy. Today he was out there in shorts, but he had a jersey on, and he ran a couple of protection routes. And so if they get him back, they're developing some really good depth on defense with the late infusion of some talent. That's pretty cool stuff.
The aura, right, as they say, the aura, the chemistry, the build-up. Today at Raiders practice, we're talking about tempers flaring, which shows the drive and the energy and the It's also hot, but as far as that aura that's out there, are you feeling that it's, that the anticipation is growing and they're bonding as a team?
Yeah, I think there's a very workmanlike attitude. One thing I will say that I do like, and it's very important that you mention it. I'm not saying fights are a terrible thing in practice, but sometimes it can get out of control and it becomes a distraction. And I do remember there was a lot of talk last year with the defensive backs and the wide receivers, much more than this year. And there was a practice where there were a bunch of mistakes being made, and there was a lot of holding and clutching and grabbing. And finally, Mullen was like, he doesn't explode often, but when he explodes, you better look out because he gets pissed. And last year he got really angry. And listen, this is a team that does need to be more disciplined on the field. They had way too many penalties in key situations. A lot of them were just jerking around or a lapse of concentration. There is a different level of focus this time around. The practices go quickly. And that's the other thing. You know what? Everyone stay disciplined because and avoid fighting. It is hot as Hades, and now it's been humid. I mean, they're practicing at 7:20 in the morning. They're trying to get done by like 9:45, and when they're getting done, I mean, it's already like 97, 99 degrees. So I think most of the players get it where they're like, yeah, we don't need to waste any freaking time out here jerking around or fighting or barking at each other. Let's go out there and just be, smooth and professional and get it done and not commit penalties. So I hope that plays and rings true during the season. I will say this. I don't even bother asking about expectations at this point because it's kind of a stupid question. That we all know what the expectations are. And like the last couple of years with Odom in year 1 and 2 and Mullen, I mean, those were legit questions because they hadn't done it before. Well, they've won 30 games in 3 years. How many times are you going to ask about expectations?
How much have you sweated off? Have you dropped? Have you sweated out?
Dude, it's been this last month has been a nightmare. I feel porky. That stupid trip I took back to New Jersey, what a nightmare. I got to get back on an eating regimen. I feel puffy.
Yeah.
I'm actually jealous after the practices, last 3 practices, Mullen has been like running freaking up-downs. Maybe not up-downs, but he's been running around the field, doing like 3 laps around the field.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to join him.
Let's just stick to recording interviews, all right?
Don't risk it too much, Tubbo. I'll have the mysterious oblique injury that'll last 5 months. My pulled fat. All right, on the way back, we'll continue on a little UNLV football. The voice of the Rebels, Matt Neverett, is in with us, but he always talks baseball with us. We'll find out what's happening with the Aviators, also the A's at the trade deadline, and I've seen some pretty strong reaction to the firing of GM David Forst. The A's dumped their GM And there's a lot of people who like that guy.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Yikes. 9-0. Red Sox now on top of the A's. Treasure Island, TI Vegas, Golden Circle Sports Bar here on this Friday. Matt Neverett's going to join us in a minute. Willie is with us as well. I want to remind you that starting up in less than a month, Throw the Flag will be back on Saturday mornings right here at Treasure Island. And leading the show will be Brandy Flores, the face of the network, as John Von Tobel has dubbed her. Brandy will be hosting the show each and every Saturday morning starting at 9 o'clock. And if you doubt the face thing, Willie, I don't know if you noticed this week, but I tried to go in feet first on UNLV coverage, so I started doing some stand-up reports after each day at camp, and it's weird. For some reason, my videos only get like 1,200 to like 2,000 views, and Brandy at Raiders camp gets like 5,000. Go figure. Must be the difference with the interest in the Raiders and UNLV. Or she's just better than me, and I'm a clunky old fat guy. So, as Willie was pounding home a couple of minutes ago.
I'll go with the latter.
Yeah, you'll go with the latter. Let's bring in a very handsome young man, Matt Neverett, who has been mistaken for my son, at least at one dinner in San Diego. I took that as a compliment. I know I'm old, so it didn't make me feel old. Matt, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I could only get so lucky as to be your son, right?
Oh, stop. Come on. Tim's a wonderful person. Let's not take shots at him. Let me read you something real quick on the A's from one Bay Area media person. David Force was a huge reason why the A's were always able to regenerate rosters and thrive in quick windows on hugely, I can't say it the right way, limited payrolls. Were you surprised that the A's moved on from David Force as the GM?
I'm surprised that he was, one of the first sacrificial lambs to fall. They got rid of the pitching coach earlier this season. That was the first, and I guess what was expected to be a couple of dominoes to fall. I'm just surprised that Dave Force was the next one. I think with the way that the roster was played out this year, you can blame injuries to a certain extent, but with the lack of pitching development and the lack of some other areas in this roster in general, with a ton of homegrown talent, it was kind of one of those situations where you knew there was going to be change coming to an end. I mean, if they lose today, if they're not able to make a big comeback, they're going to be 26 games under and firmly out of a division that otherwise is wide open. So change was inevitable in certain senses. I think a lot of folks maybe thought that they would kind of stay status quo until after the 2028 season when they move to Vegas. I think there's going to be some of that, but I think in the short term, in terms of generating interest, not only in the Las Vegas area, but on a national stage, I think they realized kind of a quick turnaround would absolutely help, and especially wanting to put the really, really good product on the field here in Vegas in 28.
Is there any chance, and again, I haven't seen much reporting on this because we don't have much in Vegas aside from, just a mouthpiece repping the organization. If we were to deep dive on this, is there any chance that he's gone because of a very quiet trade deadline? I mean, were they expecting a lot more? I wonder what happened, because I was expecting more, and nothing really happened. Like, I like Colby Thomas, and they got a quality arm. He's kind of old from the Phillies, but I fully expected 3 or 4 veterans at least to be spun off and sent out for maybe more young pitching.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both, when it comes to expecting a little bit more in terms of activity. I mean, it's like I said, a pretty good homegrown core of guys, but it's mostly on the offensive side, and the arms that they brought up this year, like Gage Jump and Mason Barnett, have really struggled. So I don't know. It's a really, really tough situation, especially with the timing of a very potential lockout next year and the move to Vegas the next year, where the A's are in a very unique spot where, yes, they'd like to compete quickly, but they're also trying to build a core for 3 years from now. So it's a tough spot for any franchise and any front office to be in. I definitely am sympathetic to that. But I'm with you. I thought that there'd be a couple of moves made. I know that Jeffrey Springs didn't do a lot to elevate his stock in the last couple of weeks, but you could have gotten something for him. And any arm is better than what they have at the moment. It appears by some of the numbers. They picked up Jonah Heim off the scrap heap earlier this year, even with the Shea Langoliers injury. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't try to move him. I thought that there would be a little bit more action, and we have seen plenty of front office individuals get fired this time of year for that very reason, not being active when the other parts of the front office, especially ownership, think so. I don't know if that's the case here. I don't think it didn't play a part. It's like, maybe 1 or 2%, but not a whole lot more than that in my eyes.
The A's avoid being a no hit. It's now 9-1 solo shot, and they get off the schneid. What can we expect down the stretch, Matt, and what should they be trying to accomplish over these last couple of months?
I mean, it's like I said, it's an interesting spot that they're in because, you want to develop your own talent, and they have had some really, really terrible injury luck, especially with their two biggest stars in Jacob Wilson and Nick Kurtz, kind of back and forth all year long between the two of them, and even at the same time a lot of times. And some of the great stories, like a Josh Kuroda-Grauer, came to a screeching halt when he, fouled the ball off of himself, and we still have yet to see him resume baseball activities. There's a couple of infielders that I'm kind of surprised are not getting more of a shake in the big league level. I'm thinking Max Muncy, who is up right now, but has been up and down like a yo-yo all year long, and Darryl Hernandez is a big league level shortstop. Drew Swift is another guy here in Vegas that is hitting about 280. He leads the team in walks. He's one of the top base on ball takers in the entire league and has played Gold Glove, major league caliber defense for a couple of years now. So there's a lot of development going on at the major league level, and there's some guys here in Vegas that I'm surprised aren't getting more of an opportunity, especially with the trade deadline having come and gone. This team kind of is announcing who they are, and that they're just kind of trying to ride this out the rest of the season.
Voice of the Rebels, voice of baseball here in Las Vegas. Matt Neverett is up with Cofield and company, Steve Cofield and Willie Ramirez. Well, let's move towards the conversation on the other side of this series, and that's with the Red Sox. How have they done this? They come into the series in a recent run of 31-5. How have they done it?
Voodoo witch magic, I think, plays not insignificant part of it. Last night's game, a perfect example. They scored runs. I think it was 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th innings. Just kind of keeping the magic going, building that picket fence against a really, really good White Sox team. All of a sudden, they've done it with really good pitching, and that's without Garrett Crochet for a lot of the year. Peyton Tolley throwing today for him has been really, really good. The back end of the bullpen has been absolute lockdown, especially with the Aroldis Chapman as the anchor, and the bats have done enough. They haven't had necessarily that midsummer swoon. Jarren Duran is having a down year, but his numbers are starting to come up. As long as he can keep himself out of the news for other reasons, I think he's going to have a big end of the season. And everything just kind of clicking. Now the question becomes, are they peaking a little bit too early? And what the hell is going on with their division? I mean, like you said, they've won 27 of 30, 31 of 35, and they're still in third place. It is one of the best runs by wins and losses in the history of the game, and they haven't even overtaken anybody in their division with the way that Tampa and the Yankees already got that big lead and are now just kind of coasting at this point.
Well, did you expect this from the pitching staff? I mean, you mentioned Crochet's down. Sonny Gray's freaking awesome. But between Tolley and Bennett, I mean, they felt so confident in their depth that they sent early out of town before, Meade played like one game and broke his wrist. And this young pitching, I think, has been one of the biggest keys.
And this is with Brian Bayo, who they thought was going to be a future number one starter for a lot of years, now moving to the bullpen, really kind of unsure of his role, and now kind of in that back end of the bullpen starting to transition a little bit into a full-time reliever. So, no, to answer your question, I didn't think that the pitching, with all these things considered, would be doing what they're doing. And I've always been a Sonny Gray defender, but he's exceeded even my expectations for this year. It's something about those Vanderbilt guys. And, there's a lot that's gone into it. And how funny how quickly the Red Sox fans went from fire Breslow, clear house, get rid of everybody, to this is the greatest team ever since the 2004 squad.
Well, and Breslow's interesting because he's cocksure. He can be pretty obnoxious. He's also like an F them picks guy. He will trade away first round selections like no one else in the league. And he actually, I think, most of the reaction on Adley Rutschman was ripping him. What was your reaction? You have a controllable catcher who obviously has a ton of upside. If I'm right, Bobby Witt and Rutschman went back-to-back in the draft?
Yep.
Is that right? So what do you think of the price he paid to get Rutschman?
I loved it. I mean, like you said, a lot of people were upset with that trade. They saw a guy who hasn't necessarily been hitting the way that he did early in his career. over the last couple of seasons. But what I saw is, as you said, a controllable guy locked up in the organization for a while. He is a leader, and he's just well-liked to run the game. And, the expectations for catchers offensively are what they are, but he's a switch hitter. He's an all-star caliber backstop when he's at his best. And at his worst, he's a leader who controls the running game especially well, way above average in that regard. So I loved the deal, and especially for a team that is trying to maintain a lot of this momentum and making a really sustained run into September and October. I love it. You need more guys like that.
All right, so people reacting to Rutschman also tied it to Skubal. Now, there are two different situations. Obviously, Skubal's awesome. What did you make of what happened with Skubal? I don't know if everyone felt rushed. The Tigers didn't give people enough time to put together offers. How was that the best offer they got?
I mean, it was the one that made the most sense in terms of who they were willing to give up in terms of the Dodgers. And the people were saying that they gave him away, the Tigers gave Skubal away. No, they got a pretty good return. Zaire Hope is the number one prospect. He was going to be the number one prospect for the Dodgers going into next year. A couple of other arms. I actually like the deal for Detroit, especially given the fact that, it was a matter of not if he was going to be moved when. They struck while the iron was hot. And look, people are going after the Dodgers. Isn't the point of owning a baseball team to put all your resources in to try to win? I get that it's a money-making venture, but I know I'm extremely biased in this regard, so you can throw that in there if you want. But isn't the goal to win just within the rules? I'm very, perplexed, although I'm not that surprised because people love to hate on the Dodgers. But, it's an interesting deal. I think what he does in the next couple of starts really doesn't matter. I think you have to judge this trade by how it plays out for the Dodgers in October when they've got, 7 or 8 legitimate starters and trying to find innings for all of them.
Matt Neverett's with us. He calls the Aviators games. What's going on with the Aviators this weekend in terms of sked and also promotions?
So 7:05 first pitch tonight, tomorrow 6:05 on Sunday. Fireworks post-game tonight brought to you by Fletcher Jones, Nevada. They do a great job of sponsoring our hangar bar at the pool in right center field. If you like Mr. Beast, if you're a YouTuber, it's a Mr. Beast Aviator sock collaboration giveaway tomorrow at the 7:05 first pitch gates. They'll open at 5:30 Sunday night baseball, which is my favorite because we don't have to wake up early. And then after a off day on Monday, where I'll play some golf, the Sacramento River Cats come into town, the Giants AAA affiliate, for another 6. And then after that, there's only 2 more homestands the rest of the way before the playoffs. So aviatorslv.com to get your tickets. You're running out of time if you want to come see the Aviators. Less than 20 home games left after this week.
Voice of the Rebels, voice of the Aviators, voice of baseball in Las Vegas. Matt Neverett is up on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas, with Steve Cofield and Willie Ramirez. Last couple of minutes here, you went out. I saw you at I know you were there because we were sitting next to each other, but you went out to a UNLV football practice. Give me some general thoughts. What'd you see?
I like the intensity in a lot of the full team periods, and a lot of that was due to the fact, I believe that was the first day that they were in full pads, so there's always going to be that excitement. Just look at that video of Justin Flo losing his mind in the stretching beforehand. He's awesome. He's so fun to watch. I was showing Nick Aratano, the new baseball coach. I was pointing some people out, and I said, watch Justin Flo. He's worth the watch. If you don't watch anybody else, definitely check him out. I liked how cohesive the defensive backfield looked. That was something this time last year that was just in all sorts of disarray, trying to bring in a whole bunch of new bodies. So I think that continuity is something that may go under the radar, but with some of the names they brought back, like a Denver Harris, a Trey Fulton, obviously Jake Pope, that's going to make a big difference. And it was interesting to watch the quarterback battle. Arnold and Orji kind of splitting carries with Garcia and Circo also splitting some as far as the third-team reps go. But I was really excited to see the intensity. The only question for me that remains to be answered is, the rotation of the offensive line and really the wide receiver group. That's the one area where I don't think I've necessarily seen one person step up over somebody else in his position group. So that's the one thing I want to see when I get out there next week.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting today. Will Thomas actually flipped over to right tackle, and they're going to be doing a lot of that. I don't know if that's going to happen in games, but you remember last year, and we've talked about this before, they were going to have a 3-man rotation at tackle, and then James Faminu just did not hold up. And the both of the tackles had to play the most of the snaps. They've got a lot more depth. And this kid Joe Metzger that they got from Holy Cross late, I've seen him play left tackle, right tackle, and right guard. So I think he's going to be a utility guy that's very useful. Let's close on this. This is really important to mention. Last year there was miscommunication, and at times there wasn't great play from the safeties. And I do have to remind people that last year when the original DC decided to bail and Paul Gunther bumped up to defense coordinator, he was the safeties coach. And all of a sudden, that voice that was going to be constant around the safeties was gone. They do have a safeties coach now. I think Cap Didi's, you got to watch him at practice. He like, if they thought they had a communication issue, he is talking the entire time. Muumu's walking over to him. Trey Fulton is way more vocal than he was a year ago. So if that was an issue, and we know it was, I think they've gone a long way to at least potentially solve the problem. They're working on it in the preseason.
I agree, and I thought it was very telling what Dan Mullen said, I believe it was last week, where he mentioned, hey, we're light years ahead this year of where we were this time last year. I think he was mostly referring to the defense, because as of now, they still haven't named a quarterback. They're still, everyone's still installing, quote-unquote, their offense at this point. So in my eyes, that was almost exclusively talking about where they were defensively. And I think that the communication is going to be better with another year under his belt with Jake Pope in this system. And I know you know this, but Trey Fulton, I cannot sing his praises enough. Number 10 is always flying around at practice. He's a guy that brings it day in, day out. He was playing with one hand last year. So I think this year, well, he's got two working, opposable thumbs. I think that'll make a big difference. And he's got all the intangibles, also the size. He is really, really big at like 6'3" and stretched out. So I think he's going to be a guy that opens some eyes really early on.
Matt, great job, buddy. Have fun this weekend. Talk to you soon.
Willie, Steve, anytime, boys.
See you, Matt.
There is Matt Neverett. Yeah, Fulton's another one of those guys. And this is a cool thing about college football when players stay around Willie for 3 and 4 years, and you can see him mature. Fulton's a guy who came in from California at 6'3", and a half, at like 165 pounds. He's probably closer to 190 now, and starting to really have the look of a veteran safety for the Rebels. On the way back, we'll get into the grab bag, another score update. Hey, I don't know. Unless the A's are going to explode, I don't think it's going to get much closer anytime soon. Right now, they're down big.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, Dave.
Last couple minutes, Cofield and Company live here at Treasure Island. Thanks to the folks who run the Golden Circle Sports Bar for hosting another show. Willie, you had a story early in the week, and I think we have the sound for it, the Will Chamberlain story. What was going on with this one?
Chose the Philadelphia 76ers about where he may live. And you had mentioned that it was a very big deal if he decided not to stay in Philadelphia. And then I ran across this.
I guess the night before you scored 100 points, you did a little boogieing. I understand you had no sleep, basically.
Some people play better tired. You know what I'm saying? You're more relaxed. You're more relaxed. You know what I'm saying?
So you had been nightclubbing the night before. You'd been at some nightclubs. You did some dancing.
Yeah,
you didn't drink at the time, did you?
I didn't drink, no, but I did love the boogie and dance and so on and so forth.
And you went back to the hotel.
I was stopped that. I was.
Well, you had to start with the 20,000 somewhere. You didn't start like in 1969.
It's just a number. It's just a number. But if you want to start starting kindergarten was the time to start. You understand? So that's that. But what I'm saying is I lived in New York.
Right.
And I commuted to Philadelphia. So I was like up all night.
You didn't even live in the town that you played in?
No, I lived in New York City, man.
So what time did you have to
Would you take New York City over Philadelphia?
Well, yes, I would. But what time did you have to live? What time did the game start back in those days?
The game started at 7:30.
So there you have it. And there was no helicopter. He just, as he said, he commuted.
All right, guys, great job. Good way to close out the week. We'll talk to you on Monday. Make sure you check the socials all weekend long for Best of Cofield and Company.